This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest.
McGuire backpedaling, running out of time, spinning away, and nobody open. Now he flips it up into traffic and makes a mistake. Trying to force the play, and it's intercepted. BJ Mays crumbling down inside the 10.
This is 365 Sports.
Bowling Green with no timeouts. Nick Singleton. Touchdown, Penn State.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Klubnik, undaunted, unafraid, complete, Turner, touchdown!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Why not?
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Jennings on the play fake, slides it upfield. Matthew Hickner off to the races. Hickner at the 30, full speed, and the big tight end goes 75. It's a Pony Express.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Monday morning, and yet right in the middle of July, SEC Media Days has opened. Last week it was the Big 12, the Big 10, of course, around the corner. Paul Catalina to my left, and I'm David Smoak, Craig Smoak to my right. Good afternoon. Hope you had a great weekend. Stayed dry. The rain continues to be crazy. Seems like every morning that we wake up to some sort of thunderstorm, but that's where we are. Where you are, it might be beautiful, sunny, or you're used to it. Now, Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, with a couple of nuggets. We're not going to use all of them here to start the show, but this is one I left. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, Brett McMurphy on talk of future Super Leagues. For all of you that like to speculate about a super conference, welcome to one.
Look, hey, he's the best marketer of all of the conference. Well, I don't know. Brett Yormark's pretty good at what he does, but he's got a bit of a head start on him. He's been the best marketer of everybody in college sports, and so why not? Here's the next thing. Instead of just chanting the league, it's the super conference. Sure, why not? I mean, it's a fantastic conference, but yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'll bite, Greg. Yeah.
I think it's just a funny crack. Start off media days, nothing more really. So yeah, that's a nice little poke at all the conversation that's going on. And yeah, SEC media days is now open for those who aren't aware, and will be going on for 4 days, which I can't imagine, guys. I don't know about y'all. I woke up today, I was like, what if we had gone to SEC media days? Like that turnaround, I think would have been crazy for one. And then 4 days is just a long time, but yeah, Atlanta, the site, and for the next 4 days, we'll have content coming out of the ATL when it comes to Sankey's Super Conference, and I mean it is. I mean let's be honest about it. Like for the people who don't just take it for what it is, which is just like a little joke and maybe even a little bit of a jab at those that he knows that will rile up. It's the closest thing to one. As far as I think to his point, what he got around to saying was, there's a league like the Big Ten, and he didn't get to them specifically, but as far as geographically and having numbers of blue bloods and monster brands, they have all that. They have what you would like to have, and so they're bragging about it a little bit. And if you're going to brag on yourself a little bit, well, media days is the time to do so.
Yeah, well, they have a lot of great teams. Obviously, they are expected to be really, really good, and we'll see how it works out in the end. And Sankey having fun with that. But also this note when Brett Yormark a week ago, in fact, he was on with us about, listen, the 5+11 format, but that both the Big Ten and SEC, who have kind of that trump card, they have to do what's best for college football. Sankey doubling down, that's part of the gambling experience, referring to your mark. You always want to have a good hand to play. I think we have the best hand on the 5-11 format. Then there was a couple other notes without having anything up on the screen that he basically said, yeah, Tony Petitti and I spoke 4 or 5 times or 4 times out of 5 days last week, and we just don't see the same, each other don't see the same when it comes to the playoff format.
Well, his coaches have told him one thing, and I think this automatic qualifier thing, I don't think he ever really I'll continue to say that, because if you stick to this one, he could get the other 11. Hell, I don't know. I mean, he's going to get as many as they can based on, the strength of his conference most years. So why would he limit them to a automatic qualifier thing, which means you've got to fill quotas first, and then have to turn around and deal with, I don't know, let's just say an automatic qualifier system, because the ACC and Big 12 get 2, that Ole Miss and LSU get left out, and then he's got to hear Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin say, well, if it wasn't for the 2 that we had to give away, we'd have been in this thing, and you signed up for this dumb format, because they were, they might have been better. They might have had a better record, but you got to take the top 2. So, 16-team leagues, there's going to be really spread out records. I mean, you could have a bunch of teams at 9-3 or 8-4. You could wind up having 5 teams at 10-2 at the end of the year if the schedule falls a certain way, because you know how that goes. So I never thought he wanted it, and I think that now the Big Ten will just stay on it until they get what they want from the SEC scheduling wise.
Yeah, I find it really fascinating how much your mark seems to rub people the wrong way. For a guy who doesn't seem to have power, doesn't seem to have a say in how things are going to go, people get really irritated when he tries to say much of anything or stand up for the Big 12. I saw some random, fresh-faced Texas reporter make this offhand comment about, while he was listening to Greg Sankey, that it made him proud to listen to a real commissioner and not a clown like Yormark. And I'm like, what did Yormark say last week that was all that clownish or offensive or whatever? And I guess that's just the young man's already in the indoctrination process, I guess. So that's already successfully going the direction they wanted. But it was just really bizarre to see some of the reaction to Yormark last week and to this week. I mean, honestly, if you don't like the WWE thing, you think it's corny or whatever, I can understand that. But I mean, some of the reaction he gets is strange to me, because he's not trying to kill college football. I'd say the guys who have the power are the ones that look like they could be the ones trying to do that, actually. But maybe it's one of those smoke and mirrors, look over here while I actually do the thing I'm accusing this guy of. I don't know. But, I saw a couple comments today. I just had me scratching my head. But regardless, this doubling down comment, I mean, Sankey obviously had comments about your mark as well, because this is indirectly or directly about him. I don't know what this quote means. I mean, outside of, they have the best hand, I guess I don't really understand what he's trying to get at with the gambling experience, because Brett Yormark had said that they were doubling down and they are gambling. So I guess that's ultimately what he's getting at. And I guess he's trying to indicate that yes, he has the best hand and maybe Yormark doesn't. I don't know. But the other comment he had, it's kind of long, but this is the one that I guess is really directed towards Yormark, about the memorandum of understanding, right? Isn't that what Yormark was talking about? So we were so busy last week, I didn't even really know what this conversation was about. So he was trying to say that he still has some level of power.
He said to us that even with, I mean, this was one of the, he said to everybody,
I don't remember this,
but specifically to us, when Smokey asked him about the best interest, he said that the memorandum of understanding also says that they can't just act unilaterally. They can't just go this. Whatever they have to do, the other conferences has to be in their best interest as well.
Okay.
So that's what he says it does. And then Greg Sankey, I think he kind of was like, meh.
He says, we have agreed, and this is not part of this, but we have agreed, I think last week there was some misunderstanding communicated about a memorandum of understanding. So in that MOU, the top 5 conference champs have a role, unless you're going to tear up the MOU, which maybe some other people wanted to do because of their concerns about the decision-making authority, but very clearly in that MOU is granted to the combination of the SEC and the Big Ten. So what does that quote say there, Garrett, that you just had up there? Because that gets directly to your mark. And I kind of do vaguely remember that your mark comment now that we're talking about it. So very clearly grants the SEC and Big Ten authority. And, okay, I thought he was commenting on your mark specifically. But so, yeah, he went in a roundabout way of talking directly about what your mark said to us and I guess in general, and just doubling down himself on the fact that they run college football.
Yeah, Dellinger also added that Sankey reemphasizes the college football MOU very clearly grants the SEC and the Big Ten authority over the future format. Nobody ever said that they didn't.
That's what I was confused by. Yeah. I mean, like the random shot at your mark. I mean, like this Twitter too, and so I mean, that's everything's getting shot at some way or another. But
what your mark was saying last week, a couple of 10 times, was that even though they have that ability, that trump card, as I mentioned, they still owe it to college football. They just can't go off and just kind of run their own countries.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I took it as. I didn't really take that as a shot or anything like that, but Sankey's got rabbit ears, that's for sure.
All right. Also, Brian Kelly, Garrett Ross. Do you know that I don't know if I can remember the exact, but I don't know, Saban may have won a national title in his third year or fourth year at LSU.
I believe it was a third, yeah.
And then all the other coaches who have won a national title won it in either their third or fourth year.
They did.
And what year is this for Kelly?
This is year 3.
Is it year 3? Okay. Asked recently about the NIL. This is I did not laugh. I did kind of spit giggle. He thinks coaches have to be the stewards of the new collegiate model. We're going to have to take the stand that transparency, consistency, ethics, and morality are at the core of this. I think that's a great comment. I love the fact that he said that, and I hope he believes that, but how many of us can trust the coaches to do that?
Well, oh, my gosh. I got choked up on this, yeah. It is very strange to me to hear someone who works for the state of Louisiana tell me about ethics. Very famous politically corrupt state for 100 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so... But, and he's like, yeah, we've got to be, that's great. So do it. But I get a feeling it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice thought, but I think
get some water, man.
It's a nice thought, but it's ultimately about the execution of it. And I don't trust Brian Kelly as far as I could throw him, which is about half an inch. And I don't trust Lane Kiffin, and I don't trust really anybody involved to not skirt the rules to their benefit, because as we pointed out time and time again, every time they try to put some measure of rules in place, somebody who's supposed to benefit and apparently wants the rules is then one of the first ones to go and find ways to break the rules. And so that's the merry-go-round that you have. You have a bunch of people being and moaning about how there's no rules, and then the moment you try to give them rules, they complain that there are rules and those are unfair, and they need to find ways to break them. So, nice thought. Looks good in print. Looks good when people read it. Will you actually be one of those to follow through on that? I don't trust Brian Kelly to be that guy. Maybe other coaches in that league will, but I do think that they're the ones that, are going to have to partially lead the way in trying to make these rules stick. And if you don't, then I don't want to hear any bitching from Brian Kelly or anybody else about why the rules aren't working. It was because none of you want to follow them. That's why. That's why they never worked to begin with. So he has a point, but hopefully he actually has some meaning behind that point.
I think that it was an article even back perhaps maybe a couple of months ago where he said that the penalties will be severe and that he liked it that way. So maybe Brian Kelly, maybe he is one of those that can lead that particular, not so much charge, but also make sure that everybody babysits everybody else.
Yeah, but okay, now we need coaches to – I don't want to use the term rat, but like report each other, like they need to report each other. And then when they do, they don't need to fight for rules to change that get them caught. Like that's the thing. It happens in these things where, and look, that's why we kind of are where we are now in one regard to college football is that, there were so many arcane rules that they eventually had to change them all. Well, then the people who in charge like kind of overreach on their rules. Then the coaches complain because all these other coaches have figured out ways around them that maybe they don't have resources for, but they're not going to report on each other because you never know who you're going to have to hire or who's going to have to hire you. Mm-hmm. So they need a system that works because and look, I believe that half the time coaches don't completely know. They just kind of don't ask questions. I think I've
that
seen
is almost a coaching sin
that
though,
you don't
if you don't know.
You don't.
That
thing.
used to they used to be able to get you off the hook.
Everybody chooses ignorance or complicity, right? And ignorance is just as bad. But ignorance for coaches most of the time is you don't ask the questions you don't want the answers to. Like, hey, why did we all of a sudden get this wide receiver transfer? And you're like, oh, I mean, he's just always been an LSU fan. Well,
let me put it
that's
this
the
way.
answer I wanted to hear. But
if the head coach doesn't know why they got to transfer, that's a fireable offense because he's the one that has to know that before they ever get it.
But I mean, like,
I know what you're saying.
That's what he's saying. Yeah. So, like, they keep the like a lot of times, and I'm sure that a lot of times that's at the direction of the coach. Like, look, you're going to go out and do what you want to do. I'm not going to ask you questions. When the kid shows up for his visit, we'll recruit him. I mean, that's just how it goes. So they have some sort of plausible deniability, but to think that we all don't know that is dumb and insulting to the intelligence of the fans. If the new system works and it's enforceable, then great.
It's already not working.
I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. Greg, anything else?
I mean, not really. I mean, I think, it's going to be up to them to police themselves to some extent. And again, I don't really trust them to do that. But if they want this to work, then they will. Same time, it's the same sport that has, that weasel from Michigan running around, disguising himself as a coach on an opposing team and sitting in the stand, like all sorts of schemes. And that's just the latest one. There's been various other versions of cheating to some extent to get an upper hand, whether it's in recruiting or on the field. And so it's a sport rife with trying to get that competitive advantage. And I just have a hard time believing that there's not going to be some guy here or there that's trying to skirt things, and then everybody else is not going to want to lose that advantage. So then they try to do the same thing and follow suit. And the next thing you know, everybody's breaking the rules, and then they complain about the rules that they apparently wanted to begin with. So I think it's way too early to say things are a mess or not working. I mean, it's just been implemented, these new things. And so it's like a law gets passed and 2 days later, it's like, why isn't the crime all the way down? It's like, well, it takes some time, guys. Like, can we give it a moment to like actually try and get through, these first few days? And so I think it's way too early to call, what's happened this summer, anything other than just a work in progress. But certainly the coaches can call things out here and there, and hopefully they will police themselves to an extent that they can allow this system to work the best way that it can. But it's also college sports, and I'm not going to trust everybody who's going to do that.
Will Muschamp, he's been around. He's coached a lot of places. Been a head coach at various places. Zach Barnett from FootballScoop.com saying that he's no longer a part of the Georgia coaching staff. He was at Texas and, of course, South Carolina. He's been a lot of different places. Hell of a coach. Hell of a defensive coach. I've even enjoyed some of the videos of him, at the blackboard and trying to teach his defense what to do, but he's no longer a part of Kirby Smart's staff at Georgia.
He's a Georgia grad, too. And
yep.
he wound up back there, but he had his run at Florida as the head coach, and that didn't work out. And he had the run at South Carolina as the head coach, and that didn't work out. I don't know, like, sometimes I know these guys want to be in the SEC. That's what they're familiar with. But I wonder, like, Will Muschamp is such a good coaching mind when it comes to scheme and all that he would, like, maybe it's just not those schools. Like, maybe go to Iowa when Kirk Ferentz retired, something like that. Like, go somewhere different.
In this case, his son Witt is a quarterback at Vanderbilt, which is a hell of a school. We'll have a guest who covers Vanderbilt today at 3:40 with, of course, they have Diego Pavia too. Speaking of which, Diego Pavia today showing up at SEC Media Days decked out. Not surprised at all. I saw a note from Connor O'Gara, who's been a guest on this show. He said, Coach Lee mentioned Pavia will have a microphone in front of him his entire life, and the world needs him to. That's from Clark Lee, his head coach at Vanderbilt, on the quarterback, Diego Pavia.
Yeah, super talented guy, and definitely a big game, big mouth, big personality, and big expectations for Vanderbilt. Big, not for everybody, but for them, certainly the biggest expectations they've had in quite some time. So he's the driving factor behind that. It's taken them a long time to try to carve out some respectability and get some attention for themselves, and they're in the midst of that right now. So I think he's one of the more interesting characters to watch. as far as like the team goes, I think they're also one of the more interesting teams to watch in not just the SEC, but in the country this year, to see if they can grab hold of something with him under center and really turn it into kind of a string of success. And if they can, then that's great. I mean, they were the bottom dweller in that league for the longest time, and last year they were not that by any measure. So yeah, it's a guy who's going to get a lot of attention at an event like this, especially. And just wondering what we hear leak out from one of his interviews that's controversial or goes viral, because that's typically what follows him. But so far so quiet, so that's probably a good thing.
The tweet that is from Big Joe on the Go is from 102.5 FM in Nashville. He'll join us. Joe Dubin will join us today at 3:40. Well, it's official. Louisiana Tech, they're leaving for the Sun Belt Conference. They were voted in by the CEOs as the 14th member, giving the school a replacement for Texas State, who, of course, will be eventually on their way to the Pac-12. Louisiana Tech replaces Texas State. They have been a part of Conference USA, expected to remain at 10 schools with that addition when those flip. Texas State out west, and then also La Tech to the Sun Belt Conference.
So they're going back to the Sun Belt because they were there before.
They were there. In fact, in 2001, they left for the WAC.
Yeah. And so when they got to Conference USA, there was, and I want to say this is like, they were in Conference USA, but there was some talk, maybe a decade or so back, of Conference USA and the Sun Belt merging. And the Louisiana Tech athletic director at the time said nobody in Conference USA would want to be in the Sun Belt if you asked them, which is why he saw a merger didn't make sense.
You know what's great about the internet?
And then things change. I don't think he's the athletic director there anymore. But
I saw that video.
But the receipts always exist, and so now they're going back to the Sun Belt, which has become a super fun league. And best of luck to La Tech. Your friend Randy Robertson is played quarterback there.
Didn't they have a guy named Terry Bradshaw?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Joe
once or
Ferguson.
Twice. Yeah, they had some good. There's some good tradition at Louisiana Tech for football. Bobby Slaughter. You remember Bobby Slaughter was their wide receiver, like back in the early '90s. Was a really good player. I always think about him. But yeah, good luck.
$5 million payout.
Yeah.
Isn't that about what we saw with Texas State, with what they have to pay to move on? And then over the weekend, it was kind of knucklehead weekend for some athletes, including A&M running back Le'Veon Moss, arrested for disorderly conduct in College Station. I saw the note. What was it? Quinshon Judkins, who's now a part of the NFL. He also got himself sideways with the law. So Le'Veon Moss, not sure how that's going to affect him moving forward. He'll be playing when they get there to September in their opening game or whenever that is. And Quinshon Judkins, there you are, in Fort Lauderdale. And this is not a good one, battery and domestic violence charges. He was unsigned. A lot of players are still unsigned. Was it the Texans in what they did with their draft pick that has screwed up the draft and signings?
The first two picks of the second round. All the other second round picks are unsigned. Yeah. And Quinshon Judkins' career might be over before it starts if this is as severe as it seems. And this is really bad news. But yeah, he is unsigned, as is the entire second round, other than the first two picks
because of the guarantee.
Because of the guarantee.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a long time, it feels like, since we've had like a string of these types of stories. I don't know, it feels like they're kind of here and there, but yeah, a couple of those today, unfortunately, and not good look for Judkins, especially as you're unsigned. So we'll see what happens there. He always had like a little something about him, though. I don't know. I feel like when people talked about him, there's always like almost an asterisk or something of just not all the way in on him. And it was always like fuzzy as to why exactly. And it wasn't always skill related. You're just wondering, okay, then what is it I'm missing? And I don't know, maybe this is part of that. I have no idea, the off the field stuff, but this isn't, even if it's his first issue or what have you, this is not a good look. And it's not like, he's some must have, like there's no running backs else that we could go find type of player. So we'll see how that works out for him. And then Le'Veon Moss, not a good look either for the young A&M star. Don't know the details. Disorderly conduct, though. Sounds like you're probably having a little bit too fun. Got a little out of control. I don't know.
It was at that same place that everybody gets in trouble, the front gate or whatever, not Northgate.
Northgate.
Yeah. Everybody gets in trouble over that Northgate apartment complex.
Yeah. So, I mean, this could be something like similar to an MIP or something like that, which I'm not going to get in any sort of up in arms type of review of somebody getting in trouble as a college kid for something minor. And this is what that appears to be based on the very limited details. So, yeah, that's part of college, and you got to be smarter than that.
How could college students be drinking and raising hell?
A part of it was, I mean, from what I read, I mean, the cops were already at Northgate because the cops live at Northgate to break up parties, apparently. And he was out there, and he and another person were yelling at each other, and other person, don't yell at this guy. I wouldn't. This is not like, I understand that sometimes you get a little fire water in you, and you feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof, but you see those guns right there. That's not even a even a good picture.
We don't even know if he had any fire water.
No, but I mean, like, even still,
yeah.
like, it's that's all it really was. Back to Quinshon Judkins a second ago. Not that the Browns, maybe had an inkling.
Oh, dear God, I forgot. That's right. It's Cleveland.
Had an inkling of this, but they also drafted Dylan Sampson from Tennessee in the 4th round.
Yeah,
so they had,
what would he have been had he not had some off the field issues, Sampson? Wasn't he like a highly, highly thought of pick?
I don't think he had that many off the field issues.
Okay.
I mean, Dylan Sampson, they were talking about James Pierce was the defensive.
That's the defensive. Okay.
He had some,
sorry, Dylan.
He went to 18th. So, they had, the first round pick in Mason Graham. They only had 7 picks in the whole draft, and they used 2 of them on quarterbacks and 2 of them on running backs. So,
that's amazing. You'd have to use 2 on quarterbacks when you put a quarterback under a contract in Deshaun Watson for maybe the greatest contract of all time since Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah.
All right. My God, there are still some that feel like that when he was at Nebraska 2009, should have been the Heisman Trophy winner. I've never said that, but he was just, my God, a great football player and also one hell of a pro. 13 years, 5 Pro Bowls, won a Super Bowl, and with the Buccaneers when they beat Mahomes. And Ndamukong Suh hangs it up. He's retiring after 13 years in the National Football League. Obviously, the Bucs put out a thank you, and so did Nebraska on the same day.
Yep. I remember we saw him when he was drafted at the Super Bowl. Soki, did you interview him that day? Did we get Ndamukong Suh that day?
I don't think so.
You went over and talked to him. I know
I hugged him.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell. I was like a gnat on him.
But
I did not hug him. I just that is a mean, play nasty son of a bitch right there. He's a great player. He was a great player.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was one of those that would have voted him for Heisman if I had to vote at that point in time. And I find it weird of why is this being announced now? I mean, he hasn't played for like 3 years. And so I just, when I saw this, I was like, has he played any time recently? I don't remember him playing at all, but yeah, I guess he was just out there holding on to hope that he was going to get that call again one day. And maybe it was just a matter of like getting healthy or something. I don't know, but I had not heard his name in a while. And then saw like Ndamukong Suh's retiring. I had to go and look and make sure like I hadn't missed out that he was like some All-Pro a couple of years back and was still in the mix. I thought he was out, and he has been out. And so I guess it's just now the writing was fully on the wall of like there's no opportunity to come back.
Well, there's a week or so before training camp begin, so why not say
there was last year and the year before and the year before. So this is like the 4th year where training camps come and he's not getting the call. So that's why I was just kind of wondering, where all that's kind of led him. And so now it's eventually led him to retirement, and one of the all-time greats in Nebraska and college football history. Certainly could argue that he deserved more than all the many accolades he did receive in college, and hell of a pro as well. So, yeah, I mean, congratulations to Ndamukong Suh on a hell of a career, and he's an absolute legend in the college football ranks for sure.
Mark Ingram won the Heisman. Toby Gerhart, Stanford, was the runner-up. And then Colt McCoy was 3rd. All of them well over 1,000 votes each. And Ndamukong Suh finished 4th with 815. 500 votes less than Mark Ingram, the running back at Alabama.
Mark Ingram, Toby, like all those guys certainly deserved it. He did make Colt McCoy's life a living hell.
Paxton put that in the chat room. He almost single-handedly beat Texas.
Oh, he did. I mean, look, if that ball doesn't land where it lands,
if it doesn't hit the railing,
the game is over. And why did he have to throw that ball away? Because Suh was in his face, and Colt. He told us, like, I didn't think about it. I just didn't want to die.
Yeah, he'd already been beat up. And you know what? If Suh doesn't pressure him quite as fierce, that it's over.
Yeah,
he doesn't probably throw it away and get sacked or doesn't have a chance.
How do you tell a rabid dog to just like take it out a little bit? That I got to see the statistically worst game that he had all year was at Floyd Casey Stadium because Baylor doubled down on making sure that he wasn't going to affect the game. But what happened was Jared Crick had the game of his life, and probably just based on the film from that game alone, moved up an entire round in the NFL draft.
I remember that you did the PA, internal PA.
And I kept saying Jared Crick, which I was excited because I didn't know if I could. At that point, I had not said his name enough on the air. I would just say Suh, and I kept worried I was going to call him Ndamukong. I couldn't say it. Now I can say Ndamukong easily, but that day I remember going to the Nebraska SID and saying, okay, say it to me. It's Ndamukong. And he's like, yes, keep going. But I said, I'm going to mess it up. And he's like, well, just say Suh. I mean, he's going to make a lot of tackles, which he had enough, but Crick was the easier one because, Crick.
He was a dominant, fierce. He was at times dirty. Who was it? He stepped on somebody in the NFL, stepped on him as he was getting up. But he might have been there. I don't know how many defensive players since he left have been any good compared to nothing at the level that he played, although they've had some guys drafted in the NFL. Now, coming up at 3:40, we're going to discuss the SEC Media Days. Joe Dubin, he is going to join us. He is on 102.5 The Game in Nashville. He does a show in Nashville. We'll discuss Vanderbilt, but also the SEC's. Pat Smith, who's been on with us many times, he's there. He'll join us at 4:25. Phil Bennett today at 5 o'clock. Brando's lined up for Wednesday. Chuck Cooperstein today at 4 o'clock. So we've got some really good stuff, and we'll have the Georgia football schedule later in the show. Paul's Top 5 and also Andrew's poll results. If you don't mind, please, right now, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, 365 Sports, we appreciate it. Pass the word along. We would appreciate that. Hit the like button. I'm always interested. We might have 200 or 300 people viewing on the YouTube channel. Let's say it's 30. And there's like 5 likes. If you wouldn't do that, wouldn't mind doing that when you get on with us, and also make sure that you are also a subscriber. We would appreciate that.
But by the way, I found this out on Friday from John Villade. If you need to mute the show for whatever reason while you're watching it, if you need to mute it, just turn it down to 1. Because if it's muted, it hurts our algorithm. But if it's at 1 and you still don't need to hear it, we can compromise.
Well, hell, I got to stop doing that myself. I think I'm not so sure. No, I don't have it muted. Okay. Yeah. I have my computer, my laptop muted. Okay. All right. That's cool. And by the way, King Jiu-Jitsu, Andrew Villade, after last week, even into the weekend, was still putting up content. And guess it's not quite, but I think today is truly day 1 for Brandon Rowe, who's here with us. We said goodbye to Emory. How emotional was that with him on Friday? Oh, my God. That was incredible. Had a few people mention that. I went by his mother's store here in Waco, and we bought him a going-away present. It arrived at my condo like at 6:45. He was already on his way out of town for Oklahoma City, so I went by and dropped it off at his mother's business, and so he should get that Oklahoma City Thunder memorabilia at some point whenever his mom and Emory hook up again. Garrett Ross is running the mothership. We made him wait till like at the last second because of a couple of late guests that we added that are great guests from SEC Media Days. We appreciate you. Also, one quick note, retired stockbroker and Les dropped by our building earlier today before the show. Chris got you a mug, Paul. And you're a mug guy, right?
I am. I can't. It's commemorating the final day of the triple option, which I appreciate.
God.
Including the last thing I said.
Should we play taps? Or,
including the last thing I said on the air, which I will not say here.
Is it about Urban Meyer?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
It was colorful.
Okay. Thank you for dropping by. He found it, and so did Les. They found it like when a lot of people can't find us, and it's really not that hard where we are on MLK. In the only business in this entire building that otherwise have people who are residents living off MLK. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Ken Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. If you think you might have any type of something's changing, you're not quite sexually active, you don't even have your mood swings, your energy's bad, you're not eating the same, you're not sleeping the same, you just don't feel right. And it's not because you're sick, or it's not because you had something bad to eat, or it's not because you didn't sleep enough. It could be your testosterone level is dropping or has dropped. Talk to Dr. Petty. Contact him at pettycliniclowt.com. He can set you up to get your blood work, take care of that for you, get the results, be in touch with you. He might have great news. You're fine. But if your testosterone level is too low, Dr. Petty can put you in a program so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Employee Pricing Plus is back at Allen Samuels in Waco, and the deals are insane. Get a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab. Your choice, 1.9 for 72 months, or $12,000 off and 3.9 for 72 months, or a flat-out $16,000 off MSRP. Wow! Ford, GM, or Toyota owner, take $1,500 more off only at Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever we'll be singing like, oh, I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever we'll be singing like, oh, I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, where big plans start with the perfect ride at great deals. From weekend getaways to daily drives, your next new truck, SUV, or car is waiting.
Come by. Let's be friends.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports, Chuck Cooperstein at 4, Phil Bennett today at 5, Pat Smith at 425, and there's Joe Dubin. He joins us from 102.5 The Game in Nashville, who's at SEC Media Days. Joe, thank you very much for your time. I know you guys had Diego Pavia on earlier today. How much of a rock star is he in Nashville, Tennessee, or even there at the SEC Media Days?
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah, I tell you what, Vanderbilt's come through this thing many years since I've attended this. They've never had a guy like Diego Pavia who's come in and everybody wants to talk to. I mean, there's been a few guys throughout the years, a Jay Cutler, a couple like that, but this guy, everybody wanted to talk to him. And I got to tell you, he's contagious. I mean, his attitude, his excitement, his love for this football team is something else. So it was great to see him come through Radio Row. And for once, Vanderbilt's got a player that everybody wanted to talk to. So it was good to catch up with him today.
What is their ceiling this year? I mean, it can't just be about Diego Pavia and the excitement he's brought, which he has, but they had to get some better players around him to take that next step.
Well, I think that's a great question. And then the schedule, we went over the schedule during the show today, and it's something else. I mean, they got to go on the road to Virginia Tech, to South Carolina, Alabama, and Texas. So right there, that's something else. Then they got to welcome home LSU in Missouri. They got to play Auburn. They got to go to Tennessee to finish off the season. So the schedule is stacked, but that's what you play for in the SEC. If they can go 7-5 with that schedule, maybe 8-4. Clark Lee's the coach of the year because they've done a heck of a job. So I think 7-5 is where this team stands right now. They've got to get lucky in a few games throughout the season, but if they could do that, they could have a real good shot of getting those 8 wins. But you got to remember, I mean, after all, they're back in the SEC, and the greatest the season they had last year, they beat Alabama, they took Texas to the wire. They still went 6-6. They won the bowl game against Georgia Tech, and they went 7-6. It's just that with Vanderbilt, they beat Alabama, and they came so close to beating Texas. That doesn't happen in Nashville. So you had somebody like Diego Pavia who refuses to lose, put this team on his back. They got a great shot in most of those games. It's just tough. I don't care who you are. Go on the road to South Carolina, to Texas, to Alabama, and to Tennessee. If you go win one of those, that's a miracle, but it's going to be tough.
Joe, I mean, like you said, it's going to be tough, but just how would you register this excitement level that seems to be surrounding them? When's the last time that you've maybe seen it like this, and just kind of what is it like around Nashville with the Commodores faithful?
Oh, that's a great question. We keep asking that question all the time. It had to be 2012. That was James Franklin's second year in Nashville. They came off a bowl win versus NC State in the Music City Bowl. A lot of bump going into 2013. That was the last time. But they didn't have that rock star. Somebody could rally around it. Diego Pavia is that guy. And although Derek Mason was the coach from 2014 to 2020, and they did go to 2 bowl games, they never had a winning season. They never had a winning season under Derek Mason because they lost both their bowl games and ended up 6-7. Now they've got this momentum. Diego was great in the Birmingham Bowl. He's back. He's healthy. He's got one of the best tight ends in the country. Got a pretty good defense as well that's coming back. So there's excitement. Plus, guys, they have I know it's Vanderbilt, but they got a brand new stadium. They remodeled their stadium. I know they lowered the capacity a little bit, but it's not. I mean, it is really, really nice. And you look at teams that move into a stadium for the first year, and the bump they get off of those is quite impressive. So Vanderbilt's got a lot to play for this year. But their first game is Charleston Southern. And if you want to break away from the same old Vandy mentality, you got to beat Charleston Southern. In the past, Vandy loses to a Charleston Southern. Heck, a few years ago, I think it was Clark Lee's first game, they lost to East Tennessee State. They had a lot of momentum coming in off the offseason. Clark's first year, a lot of good recruits, but they lost to East Tennessee State. So if you want to put behind you that this is the same old Vanderbilt, you win that game, then you go on the road and beat Virginia Tech, start out 2-0, then they could have a really good season.
I can't believe you brought up their bowl games because one of them was in Houston against Baylor. We covered that game, and I was like, for some reason earlier today, I kept wondering, when else have I covered a game in Houston? Of course, last year they played LSU, and before that they played Illinois. It was Vanderbilt, and they are, when Mason was there. The city, as far as Nashville, it's a pro sports town. Is Vanderbilt something? And I know they love SEC football in that town too. Does Vanderbilt register there, or is it mainly just last year?
Yeah, just last year. I mean, because you got to win games. I mean, they came off a 2023 season. They were 2-10. And Clark Lee came here last year. It's like, the whispers of, there's that guy on the hot seat. Yeah. Those aren't around anymore. So you're right. And that's the thing is, Vanderbilt would have a home game. I think when Texas came to town last year, that was 80% Texas fans in the stand. They played Alabama, same way. Tennessee, it might be 90% in the stand. So they don't have a true home field, if you want to say that, although they do play games at home. But visiting teams come in there and win. That's why last year was so great, beating Alabama. I mean, I'm telling you, when you see 80% full stands of Alabama fans just despondent and just destroyed because they lost to Vanderbilt, it was a beautiful, beautiful sight to do that. And they almost did it to Texas like 3 weeks later. It would have been incredible. So, yeah, they register when they win. Like anything else, it's primarily a Tennessee Titans town, Tennessee Vols town as well. Mm-hmm. They love it there. But when Vanderbilt can go out and do well, people like to hop on bandwagons. They'll do it all the time, no matter what it is. So Vanderbilt last year winning, a lot of people hopped on that bandwagon after the Alabama win. So you saw that right there. But down the stretch, Vandy was pretty pedestrian. LSU, Tennessee, and South Carolina pretty much figured Pavia out. So that's the challenge this year for Diego Pavia. Can he adapt to what they figured out? Well, we'll wait and see. They've got a great, tough schedule ahead. It's going to be fun to watch, see if he can do that.
Joe, by the way, for people who are wondering where SEC Media Days is, at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, which is one of the coolest museums you can ever go to in your entire life. It is awesome. It is amazing. But you mentioned Tennessee. They got thrown into panic mode right at the end of spring. What can fans expect from a Joey Aguilar run offense?
Well, here's the deal. We're just going to talk about the schedule because the unknown with Aguilar right now, a lot of people don't know. He was good at App State, wasn't great at anything. It's week 3. Week 3, Georgia comes to Knoxville. The first game is here in Atlanta versus Syracuse. Then they go home to East Tennessee State. Georgia coming into Knoxville. I'm telling you what, if they can beat Georgia, they've got a very favorable schedule. They've got to go to Alabama in October. But if you beat Georgia, you're sitting there 3-0, and you've got this great bump. And fans are behind Josh Heupel because he didn't buy into this Nico nonsense. Pay me all this money. Like, we're not going to do that. We agreed to a price. And you don't want to do it, then go away. So a lot of Tennessee fans are hopeful under Heupel. Now, with that being said, you've got an unproven quarterback, so you might go 8-4, but you realize that no one player is bigger than the program. So we'll have to see. Their defense is solid. They got a really good defense. Offense, not so much. But I'm telling you guys, week 3 is when it's going to be important. They can knock off Georgia with an unproven quarterback. You might see a bump for the Tennessee Vols that will get them into the college football playoffs.
Joe, I wanted to ask you again about Vanderbilt. Eli Stowers, what is the ceiling for him this year? Is the world kind of just his oyster in your opinion?
Well, we asked him about Stowers earlier, Diego Pavia. He just lit up. I mean, he was just so excited. And this is the work this guy puts in is second to none. And he's great. I mean, he's ranked as the top-rated tight end in college football right now. He's made all the preseason All-American lists. He is great. But again, it rolls around Pavia. Pavia likes him as his safety valve. He was talking about, he's his Kelsey to the Mahomes. I mean, that's who Stowers is for him. He's a guy that you can rely on. They're on the same page. And if Pavia has a good year, then this young man's going to have a good year. Pavia's got to stay healthy. He loves to scramble, loves to run around, and they're going to be waiting on him. I mean, you got some big linebackers in the SEC can take down Pavia, but when you got a safety valve like Stowers, it's great. And Vanderbilt hasn't had a tight end like him in a long, maybe ever. I don't know. It's a guy that's getting the accolades now with the All-American list, so it's really good. I'm telling you guys, Vanderbilt's got some talent, but then you go look at that schedule, you're like, man, you can't they have to play perfect football. That includes Pavia and Stowers and all these other guys. If they don't have good, I mean, they can't make any mistakes. If they do, you're looking at maybe a 4-8 team. If they play their best, you might get an 8-4 out of the squad, but it all revolves around Pavia. It's funny, guys. I was over listening to Pavia's. The players kind of do a little breakout session there, and the media just swarmed unlike any player I've ever seen at Vanderbilt and very few in the SEC. I remember Tim Tebow came here and did that, and they swarmed. I'm not saying that Pavia's on Tebow's level, but I'm saying when they swarmed the breakout session, so many media members there want to talk to Pavia. He's got an air of confidence. He won a podcast a few weeks ago, says that Vanderbilt's going to run the state of Tennessee and watch out Alabama. And, we asked one of his teammates today, and they're like, that's Diego. I mean, we're going to have to back him up now. So it's a schedule. They got a very confident and cocky quarterback. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Now, you seem like you're a pretty big boy, Joe, but you're the football coach, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. There's a couple of guys I'd love to see in a cage match. Is it Brent Key from Georgia Tech and also Clark Lee? Those two seem to me like two bulls right there. Your thoughts about Clark Lee?
Well, it's always like you go to a bar, there's a big brawl. That's the one guy who doesn't move and doesn't say anything. That's the guy you got to worry about. That's Clark Lee. He's very calculate, very, very smart. I mean, his dad was a team doctor for the minor league baseball team in Nashville for 30 years. He's very, very brilliant, knows what he's doing. He's a guy that kind of lays back and kind of surveys things and goes after it. It's funny you mentioned that. We always talk about on the show about coaches and fight. We had Mike Vrabel in Nashville for a while, and like, that's a coach you go to a bar fight with, or a Will Muschamp. You go to a bar fight with that kind of guy. Clark Lee's a very quiet guy. He's a guy that just says and observes everything. But, yeah, he's got something up his sleeve. I wouldn't want to go against him in a bar fight. It'd be fun, right? I mean, right, it was a good times right there. But you wouldn't want to go after him all the time because you never know what he's got going right there in that mind of his.
Who's your SEC sleeper team?
I think the consensus, my co-host and I on the show here on the Jason Big Joe show, we like South Carolina because they got a quarterback. And they got a lot of momentum, and they got a pretty good defense. I know they lost some guys with their defense last year, but when you got a good, proven quarterback, a lot of hype around you, that solves a lot of questions, and they're very, very athletic. They got a good offensive line, and that's funny now. A lot of focus now is on the offensive line because when it's bad, you're like, oh, that you notice it. When they're good, you don't say anything because the team's good. And that South Carolina offensive line is going to be really good. To me, that's the breakout team in the SEC in 2025.
What are your thoughts about Greg Sankey? He is, no question, he runs that conference. Mike Slive ran it as well as anybody could. But Sankey, he seems to be the center of college football right now. And with a lot of, and he, by the way, not afraid to let you know that either.
Well, not at all. And, he spoke for 30 minutes today. And my gruff with him was, guys, is the fact that we talked about nothing on the field. It was like, off the field, do we go 8 games, 9 games, or do we go to 12-team playoff or 16? I was upset with him 2 years ago when we talked about March Madness. Like, maybe some of these group of 5 teams don't belong in the tournament. That's why we watch. We watch for the upsets.
Absolutely.
I don't watch to see Kentucky beat Vanderbilt in the NCAA tournament. We watch for the Cinderellas to make those runs. And we started talking about that. I was like, he's tough to figure out for me because, look, he's beholden to the SEC, and I get all that. But people outside the SEC can't stand him. I mean, they really can't stand him. Other conferences, I'm telling you, they're not a fan of him at all because he puts his team, thinks the SEC's got this extra level, this elite level. And they doing a lot of things, but at the same time, you can't go on this island by yourself and thinking you're going to be the best when you're really not. And a lot of people are gunning for you. I mean, when SEC teams now get beat in turn, like when Vanderbilt was the number 1 ranked baseball team in the country going to the playoffs, right? The tournament. They got beat. All these people, SEC, Sankey, Vanderbilt. So many times the SEC team loses now, people are all rallying around the fact that, too bad, Sankey. It was good Florida won the basketball tournament this year. That helped a little bit with the PR part of this. But I'm a guy who wants to focus on the field, what's happening between the lines. And all too often these commissioners get stuck talking about things outside the line, revenue sharing. And when you spend 20 minutes talking about how great your student athletes are in the classroom, that's great. I'm telling you, not a lot of people don't care about that. We want to see what happens on Saturdays and what goes on. But I think Greg Sankey right now just thinks he's invincible. We'll see what happens with all that.
Joe, is your studio? My wife is from Murfreesboro, so we're up there quite a bit. Yeah. Is your studio downtown? Is that the one I'm thinking of? the game?
No, we're by the airport. We're about a mile from the airport. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. There's one, I know, but I just wondered, when you're not in town, do you miss hearing all of the bachelorette parties, or is it nice to get a break?
It's funny. If you go to the airport on a Thursday, you see them all coming in. They're all excited. They got their cowboy hats. When you see them leave on Sunday, it's like they've been through basic training. They're like, what did we just do? I tell people that come to town, Nashville is undefeated. Do not try to beat Nashville. It's undefeated whatever you do. But to see the elation on a Thursday to the utter disgust on a Sunday is a beautiful thing. And it keeps getting bigger, guys, bigger and bigger. That's the destination now. But the good news is they all stay downtown. Thank God. They don't leave downtown.
Yeah. I need to find a picture on my phone. I might text it to you of a guy I saw at the airport that they had to wake up. He was sleeping right out there in the C terminal, just on one of those couches. Just the paramedics came and woke him up.
Paramedics?
Yeah. It was on a Sunday morning. It was Sunday morning early.
It's funny. I don't know why people book a flight out of Nashville on a Sunday morning. I don't understand it, because the bars don't close till 3 a.m. I'm telling you, if you go to a bar in Broadway at 2:30 in the morning, it's packed. It's like it's 7 o'clock in the evening. It doesn't shut down to after 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm wondering, do they sleep? They probably just go straight to the airport and wait on their flight. And I tell you, it is something to see when people leave Nashville on a weekend.
You and Chase McCabe, right? Is that right? The show? Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, Chase McCabe is sitting out here. Chase, lean in. This is Chase McCabe. There he is right there. Yeah.
There you go.
So we're on 9 to 11 in Nashville on 102.5 The Game. But this week during media days, we're 12 to 3 down here. And so we got a bunch of guests lined up and everything. So you can catch us in Nashville from 9 to 11, but this week 12 to 3.
Joe, thanks for jumping on. Tell Chase we said hi as well. Thanks for your time from SEC Media Days. Have a great day.
I appreciate you, boys.
Joe Dubin, 102.5 The Game in Nashville, give us a perspective of that. Coming up, Chuck Cooperstein. He's the voice of the Mavericks, but he's as well-rounded in everything sports. We'll discuss college football with him. Cooper Flagg, a couple of games in the Summer League. They shut him down, not because of anything other than, we saw what we needed to see. Not everything was perfect, but had a big game against, I think, the Spurs. All of that with him, his thoughts about college football and more. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club, their experience coming up this week. It is Wine Down Wednesday. Join them Wednesday for $30 wine flight of your choice. Have a variety of selections for you. That's coming up on Wednesday evening, July the 16th. They're a part of that Club Corps International. So if you're a member of the Baylor Club, you're a member of many clubs around the country, golf courses too, and the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium, where you could have just a nice, quiet lunch if you want. Really nice food. I mean, delicious food. The menu, the cuisine. There's chefs even at times if they want to add something to the menu, they're going to tell everybody about it on Facebook to have a tasting type party. And I'm sure that everybody's going to like what their top chefs do inside the Baylor Club. On game days, when Baylor's in town during their 7 home games, it's packed, it's loaded, it's having fun. But during the week, there is so much going on, from meetings to symposiums to speaking engagements to banquets to luncheons and more. The Baylor Club. Tell them 365 Sports sent you inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
The Make This the Summer event is on at Allen Samuels in Waco. And the deals on the 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab are flat out insane. 1.9% for 72 months, or $12,000 off MSRP plus 3.9% for 72. Or go big with a massive $18,000 off MSRP. Your choice. Plus, Ford, GM, or Toyota owners get another $1,500 off. Hurry to Allen Samuels in Waco, where Texas drives Ram.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
365 Sports, we start this 4 o'clock hour. Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Mavericks and a phenomenal sportscaster, broadcaster, talk show host as well. Chuck, thank you with Craig and Paul, David Smoak. I know the SEC Media Days just started. I want to go back to last week with the Big 12. It seems like it's a conference that you never know from one year to the next who's going to be the team that surprises everybody. Arizona State has a lot back, among others, too. Your thoughts about the Big 12, and what are your overall thoughts on the football conference?
Well, it's certainly, if you're looking for entertaining football, games that will go down to the last 5 minutes of the game and you don't know what will happen, the Big 12 is the league for you. There are no true powerhouses, but there are a lot of really good teams that, frankly, I think if there were better teams in other conferences, I don't think a lot of them would want to play at the top of the Big 12 because really I think you can go into the first half of the league and especially this year because there are so many quarterbacks that are back this year. Even with the number of offensive coordinators that have changed out, coordinators really on both sides that have changed out. These are teams you don't want to play because these are teams that have experience. Getting old and staying old is really important in college sports right now, especially in football and in men's basketball. And if you can do that, you give yourself a heck of a chance to win games. And I think that's the case with a lot of the Big 12 teams right now.
What do you think the level of parity conference to conference is right now, especially after we saw last year the SEC kind of beat each other up in a way they hadn't in the last few years, and then the Big Ten has won the last 2 national titles. It's a different time a little bit with the new roster structure in college athletics.
Well, yeah, it's definitely different. The one thing that I would say is that Ohio State seemingly is down-proof, if you will. They never seem to have a bad year, and they haven't had a bad year for really for over 30 years. I mean, they're always competitive and always in the hunt, always with top line talent, and I think that will be the case again this year. And it's why really they're different than everybody else. I think Michigan's going to take a step back this year. When Michigan won a couple of years ago, I mean, frankly, they had built up for 4 years to try to win that year, and they did. They weren't very good last year, except for that the third Saturday in November, and then Ohio State could not have been worse. But we saw that Ohio State obviously had a way of being able to overcome that and win the national championship. But I mean, I think you look at the SEC, and Georgia's got great talent. Alabama still has really good talent. A&M has really good talent. I mean, the whole West, LSU has tremendous talent. Florida's talent has been significantly upgraded. Tennessee, I don't know if they're quite as good as what they were last year. And, they've got quarterback issue they got to get solved. But again, as things have spread out, it's certainly made it, I think, a lot more interesting. And more importantly, like when we get to November and we get to a point where, like last year, I mean, you were paying attention in November because every game mattered. And teams that ordinarily would have been out of it on some level, say in the middle of October, and we're just playing out the string in November. Well, they weren't doing that in November, and that's going to be the case again this year. So, look, college football is great. It's always great. And frankly, I think it's in as good a place as it has been competitively, even if the means that we have used to get there are something that are making us all scratch our heads.
Coop, your Florida Gators will take the podium on, I believe it is Wednesday. You kind of touched on it there, the talent upgrade and obviously the terrific young quarterback from Texas. But how you feeling about your Gators and obviously a crucial time period for the head coach there?
Well, he was this close. Billy Napier was to being out of there at the end of September. But, they got better as the year went on. Big win over UCF. And then really, I think the game that may have saved him, even though it was a loss, was the next week when they played Tennessee. And Tennessee was at really the top of their game. They went to Nashville. They should have won the game. I think he got conservative there late in the game when he really needed to go for the win. He didn't do it, paid a price for it. But they showed that they were competitive. And other than the Texas game, from that point forward, they should have beaten Georgia the week before, but then they played Texas and they didn't have a quarterback. And, Texas was really rolling at that point. They weren't going to win in Austin, but they beat LSU. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Florida State. They won the bowl game. They're on a real good push right now. And as long as Lagway's arm is okay, then they're going to be okay because he does have a little bit of it in him. He really does. Things just look entirely different when he's in the huddle as opposed to when anybody else is there.
Lagway or not, Chuck, their schedule is very hard right at the beginning of it.
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
Well, not really at the beginning. I mean, they've got a couple of layups to begin. It's not like last year where they opened with Miami.
Yeah.
And got throttled at home. They got LIU to begin the year. So let's not get carried away. They don't have anything that really, gets going until September 20th. And then obviously, they've got Texas relatively early. They got Texas coming on an off week, which doesn't help them. But that's going to be a scene, I think, in Gainesville on October 4th. And I don't know that it'll necessarily be a proving ground test for Texas, although maybe it won't be because Texas is going to Ohio State and Arch Manning is going to be in front of the 100,000 people in the horseshoes. So he'll be certainly tested under the gun, prior to getting to Gainesville. But that's going to be a really good test, I think, for Texas going on the road in the league. And certainly it's going to be a statement for Florida on exactly where they are.
Yeah, I mean, we do schedule breakdowns and in a segment, throughout the summer, and we said like Billy Napier has a chance to, I mean, if everything just hit the wall and was terrible, be fired after that first 6 games, or get the best contract extension anyone would ever have, because we he hit it, there it is, because they get through that with just one loss, watch out, because that would be a good team.
Well, it's pretty much, it's the same teams that they played last year, the schedule being reversed, but in a different order. Like they're playing Tennessee on November 22nd. They never played Tennessee in November. As long as I've been following Florida football, which is almost 50 years now, they always played. Usually it was the third week in September. It's been, last year they played the second week in October. Now it's just shocking to see them play that late. But I don't know what it means in the grand scheme of things. I think but the schedule is difficult regardless. And the most important thing is that they have to play like a legitimate program. When they started out last year, the games against Miami and the game against A&M in Gainesville in mid-September, they were a joke. They were awful. And, all the talk about Billy being fired was pretty justified. And I do know that there were a bunch of people ready to pony up the $26 million to get him out of there. But they held on, and so they got what they got. And now we'll see if there really is in translation to the following year.
You mentioned that Florida-Tennessee and when it normally is played. Is there a specific tradition? This is kind of a random question. A tradition in college football that you miss that's no longer really a part of the game?
Oh, listen, from my alma mater standpoint, I love when we played Auburn.
Yeah.
Florida never plays Auburn anymore. The most important games for Florida were Georgia, Florida State, and Auburn, because Auburn you would recruit in the Panhandle and also into Orlando and into Tampa and places like that. That game mattered. It mattered a ton. The rivalry was real, and there were some real controversial games between Florida and Auburn, especially in the 80s. You don't have that anymore. So no, I don't like that at all. Just from a personal standpoint, yeah. Listen, I know Missouri and Kansas are playing this year. That's awesome. They need to play. A&M and Texas needed to play. Before Texas came to the SEC. The fact that they didn't play for the 13 years that they didn't was absurd. The rivalry games have to be played, and worry about all the other stuff on the backside of it. And if it means you're playing, you're not playing an FCS school, then so be it. Look, and we're at the point now. This is professional sports, and people are paying a ton of money to watch these teams play and these programs play, and they are entitled to bang for their buck. They are not entitled. Fans are not looking for body bag games anymore, and $1.5 or $2 million buy games anymore. That's just not going to fly. You got to go play people, and you got to go beat people.
Chuck, you ever think you see a day where your Gators would be playing the Longhorns and Aggies back-to-back in conference play? That's just kind of wild, isn't it?
No, that's crazy. What a day that is too. But that's Texas OU day too. When they play A&M. So but no. Listen. I never thought that I'd ever see Texas play at Florida, and I don't think they ever have. Before last year, I know the last time they played was 1940, but I believe that game was in Austin. But yeah, the idea of Florida and Texas and A&M in back-to-back weeks, certainly was not seeing that. But you know what? I think it's great. They're two of the three highest producing talent states in the country. And, even though there's national recruiting everywhere now, the basis for most of these programs come from in-state recruiting. And it's a great baseline to see who's got what.
I just went and looked it up, and I'm sure you're probably aware of Winsipedia, but it's like the best imaginable website for college football and rivalries and seeing who played who. Texas and Florida did play in Gainesville one time. They played 4 times total, but it was 1940. So it's been a while. It
was 40 in Gainesville. Okay.
Yeah.
So, that was well before me. Well before my parents even figured out who I was. So that's, but it's going to be something. And, and looking at the SEC schedule that day, there's not a lot of juice that particular Saturday. So, I mean, personally, I'm going. I've already made plans to go.
Nice.
I'm hoping it's we're playing it's 7:30 Eastern time, and everybody's got the day to go get themselves together and get after it. And I think it's going to be incredible.
Hey, look, Texas is going to the shoe, and they play in a lot of loud environments. But structurally, I don't know if I've ever been in a louder place than the Swamp. When it's good, when things are going. Yeah. When it's good, it gets loud. Like your ears ring.
I think they're in LSU. Yeah. They're in LSU are the two places where it's just you just cannot hear yourself think if the home team is good, and so it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. It's just so great. With the Big 12 last week, the SEC, this week. Isn't it ironic that the SEC and the Major League All-Star game have been in the same town the last 2 years?
Huh.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's true. Didn't think much about that. Great.
Where's it next year?
I don't know.
Milwaukee for SEC media.
I don't think it's going to be an SEC country.
Yeah. Milwaukee.
Chuck, Texas obviously did not have the whole hey, the SEC's different experience. I mean, they just rolled in and they made the title game. Oklahoma, on the other hand, had a few more trip-ups along the way, and this is obviously a very important year for Venables. How confident are you in the big splashes they've made this offseason and the ability for Oklahoma to kind of get on track here?
You know what? It's a great question. I don't know. John Mateer was terrific at Washington State. They brought in the Washington State offense to try to make this work, and it's going to have to work. But I say all of this, and then let's go back to November, and let's remember that there was Alabama still in college football playoff contention, coming into Norman to play an Oklahoma team that had looked like they were dead in the water, and Alabama was absolutely dead in the water that night. Oklahoma made them look ridiculous. Oklahoma was no good, and they made Alabama look ridiculous. So, that tells me there's, maybe the bones aren't so bad there, at Oklahoma, but they're in an interesting place, guys, don't you think? Because, they don't have the money that Texas has. And they're going to go through an administrative change with Joe Castiglione leaving as the athletic director. And, if he is, he is leaving, and if Venables doesn't, hit it out of the park this year, I mean, they're in a really, really tough place going forward. So they're one of the more interesting teams that I don't think a lot of people are talking about for a lot of different reasons.
Chuck Cooperstein with us, voice of the Mavericks, which brings me to Cooper Flagg. Had a couple of games, shut him down. He first game, obviously, jitters, 5 of 21 shooting, but did little things that's one of the things I liked about him. Wasn't the scoring, it's that he can do everything, and he does it pretty well. Your thoughts about just the glimpse of him? I know you watched him a bunch at Duke.
Well, he made the biggest play of the first game, right, with the block shot with a minute to go. He blocks it. He gets the ball. He comes up the floor, and he's looking to make a play, but not necessarily for himself. And he drops it off, and Ryan Nembhard gets the ball, knocks down a three, and then ultimately wins the game. And that sequence was the essence of Cooper Flagg. He's a chameleon. He will do whatever you need him to do in order to win games. And so then, we watched the second game against the Spurs, and the shooting was better. I think he played with a little more confidence. But not that he is lacking confidence, because I don't see that in him at all. But I did find it interesting when he said that he felt he was exhausted with the ball in his hands and being challenged for 94 feet. And that's exactly what the Mavericks wanted to see. How would he respond to that? And when you think about it, go back 2 years ago when Victor Wembanyama played his first Summer League game, and he was awful. He went 2 for 13 in that game. He wasn't very good in the first half of the second game, and then he took off, and he was unreal. And that's kind of what happened with Cooper Flagg here. I mean, he just got a sense of what it's all about. And let's remember that the people that he was playing with and that Victor played with 2 years ago, those are not the people that he's playing with when they start playing in October. They're going to make his life a lot easier, and he's going to make their life a lot easier too.
So what are your thoughts about the NCAA tournament and expanding yet again with the possibility of God knows how many teams in the 70s?
It's a joke. There's no reason to do it. There's just no reason to do it. I don't know if you saw the piece in the Wall Street Journal today, but they were talking about how NCAA is needing CBS and Turner to go use their sales departments to go after beer companies, hard liquor companies, in order to get the money that they want to be able to distribute in a larger tournament. Because CBS and Turner and ESPN on the women's side, there's nothing in their contracts that say that they have to pay the NCAA more money. So, I mean, again, if they're not going to do this, then why are they doing this? Other than the fact that some athletic directors and coaches have clauses in their contracts that provide bonuses if they make the tournament, there is no reason at all to do this. It was perfect at 64. It's tolerable at 68. There are a couple of the first four games that wind up being okay to watch. Although I don't know I know I didn't sit down and watch the 2-16 seeds play. When they would go against each other, but the 11s were kind of interesting, just in that kind of one and done thing. But it's not like I was necessarily looking to do it that night. If the game was good, the game was good. You go watch it. If the game's lousy, you turn it off, and nobody's looking at those beer ads that you're paying extra money to try to get. So there's no reason to mess with perfection as it is. You, Paul, David, Craig, everybody knows the tournament begins on that Thursday at 11 a.m.
Absolutely.
What happens before is just it's just all window dressing and child's play. It's really what it is. And if they want to mess around and get people upset, let them go do it. But when we all fill out brackets, we're filling it out based on 64 teams that start at 11 a.m. on that Thursday.
I always sometimes get confused when they force me to do that bracket. Not force me. When I go to do the bracket and I go, okay, wait a minute. If I pick this team in the play-in game, it doesn't usually matter. But yeah, no, you're exactly right. I saw the headline. You're right. Booze. They're going to have to sell and focus in on selling booze.
Crazy, right? I mean, you need to leave well enough alone. The Big Ten and the SEC are really in danger of killing the golden goose. Not just in basketball. Where obviously the SEC was fantastic last year. I mean, it was just there's never been a league like that. As good as the Big 12 has been, over the last decade, they had nothing like what the SEC was running out there last year. But they're attempting to mess it up in basketball, and they're trying real hard in football. Although it looks as if the SEC and the Big Ten have differing opinions on just exactly what the right format for the playoff is. But fellas, just get yourself in a room, lock yourself in a room, and when the white smoke comes out, let us know, and we'll be good to go, and we'll be ready to watch.
All right. I asked Brett Yormark. I asked him, I said, what can I do to talk you out of this? And it
gave you the death stare.
It didn't go well, Chuck. Yeah. It didn't go well.
To talk about what?
About the tournament expansion. I said, what can I do to talk you out of it? And the last time we interviewed him, I said, if you walked through the tournament and you went through all the paying customers in the seats and said, do you want more of this? They'd be like, no, this is perfect. Yeah. What are you doing? I'm eating a double cheeseburger. It's delicious. I don't need a triple cheeseburger. I'm full. I'm happy. It's glorious. Leave me alone.
That's exactly right. And you know what? If he gives you the death stare, you give him the death stare back. Because you know what? He'll get a lot more death stares from folks than he'll be giving out himself.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Coop, great to have you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Mavericks on Cooper Flagg, but also on the tournament if they want to expand it, which it looks like they're going to do that. Maybe people will change their mind, and, of course, a ton of college football.
Yeah, they're not going to change their mind, clearly. I mean, every single one of the commissioners is coming out and basically saying we're expanding. I mean, Sankey all but said it right. Yormark all but said it last week. And I just don't know how you're going to get away from now moving forward with that at this stage. So, yeah, if you want more basketball teams in the NCAA tournament, then it seems like this year lucky time period, because it's almost inevitable now at this stage, the way everybody's speaking around it. So does nothing for me. I know, and like, I'm not the necessarily the target audience per se, but then again, I think as a bit of a casual fan, I am. Like, you want me to watch the games. And so I don't know that adding 2-3 more games with teams that everybody's even less familiar with than they were, although I know that could be an Arkansas gets in there, or it's not going to necessarily be smaller teams. It's just more teams. So the SEC, in theory, since they're the flavor of the week, could have every team in their conference in this way, which is probably what they're planning on. But yeah, it does absolutely nothing for me. And then again, like I said, I'm not the target audience, but I am the type of audience you want to get the big millions of viewers that you want, because that's not happening off pure hardcores. That's happening off of the casual audience as well. So
the reason it's big is because you fill out a bracket in your office, and you kind of know, or you don't know at all, and then people who never watch.
The girl in sales who's never talked about sports before has a bracket.
Yeah, she's got a bracket, and she is going to go somewhere with her friends and watch a game because she wants to see if Maryland's going to win.
Now, at the same time, I would be hypocritical to not point out, like, not everything's about TV ratings, and I've said that over and over again. So I don't want to sit there and say, well, if it's not doing good TV ratings, then it's not a good idea, because I go against that when it comes to other things. So to me, it's not about the TV ratings. I just don't have interest in it, period. Like, just as a fan of the sport, I just, at a certain point with college football, and they're teetering on that verge right now, you go too far, I'm going to lose interest. I think last year you saw a lot of people lost interest. Now they will point to guess what, TV numbers and say, actually, there was more interest. So they got more of the casual fans to watch, perhaps because of the playoff setup. But yeah, I do think it's inevitable, and I don't think it's necessarily the best idea, but it is the idea that we're going to see come to fruition sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Feng Wei, they're going to have to raise the hoops at least 10 feet more before I'm ever interested in basketball again. Wet blanket.
Yeah.
What's wrong with more basketball? Ask Michael DeHart. They're money hungry. They're eating themselves alive. And then Barry Crawford, the SEC was overrated as F. Half the teams were gone after the first round. Well, they still had a pretty good little flood, but you have that many, you're going to get a lot in.
I don't know if that's the
they were really
how they
good.
do in the tournament. I mean, you get weird draws, teams you've never seen before. It's a long season, all of that. But I think the bigger issue overall is, look, the first four hasn't been a home run of good basketball games every single time. It's very hit or miss. So if that's your basis to go on, it's going to be more miss than hit when you add more teams into it, as far as the enjoyability of those games to watch.
I'm not you'll never hear me chanting SEC. I will never be that guy, but who was the national champion?
Yep.
Florida.
Yeah. So, I mean, overrated field or not, they still won the title, and that's all that matters. And it's like in college baseball, and look at the first round, all these SEC teams. And what did I keep saying? All right, we'll see who's there at the end, because that's all that matters, and who won it. Damn, LSU won it. So it's like, you know what? For as many, there's too many teams or whatever, still had the champion, and that's what matters.
Yeah, you're going to have that many in. You're going to have some get beat, or a chunk of them, and then at the same time, you have that many in. You have a chance to kind of flood yourself into the quarterfinals, but you still got to win games to get there.
Yeah, my problem isn't like the teams that they get in. It's sometimes the seeding that they kind of like, okay, this team is way better because they're in this conference. Baseball was indicative of that this year. Like, they could have shuffled that around and probably nailed it a little bit better.
Pat Smith, three-man front, three-man down. What I just went?
Three-man front.
Three-man front is next. He's been at SEC Media Days, and he will. He, of course, is a part of that monster WJOX in Birmingham.
Did you hear that Nick Saban's coming back to coach?
Yeah.
that's
I
been.
Actually went and listened to the segment that created that particular question.
No, Greg McElroy circled back around.
Yeah,
because,
he did.
Look, this is there's some tabloidy reporting going on in college football these days. I think in some ways, and especially certain places, but. That report was out there earlier today, and Greg McElroy went back on the radio and said, like, I did not say that he was definitely coming back to coaching. In fact, I'd say he's not coming back to coaching, but that's not how people took what he said.
For once, I listened to the part that created that particular note, and we'll have Pat Smith from Birmingham, SEC Media Days, where he's at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, and this is 365 Sports.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC. An equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Pat Smith, 3-man front. As I said, 3-man down in front. From Birmingham at WJOX, he's actually at SEC Media Days and does an amazing job of covering them. And he joins us on 365 Sports. Pat, thank you very much for your time. Obviously, busy day. We've had one of the guys at Nashville that joined us, Joe Dubin, on Diego Pavia and the story that Vanderbilt was, and that Pavia, he said that, first of all, Pavia had a tux on and was an absolute rock star today at SEC Media Days.
Listen, guys, my first SEC Media Days was in 1993, and I can go rhyme and verse of the worst Vanderbilt coaches and the players that. And let me tell you something: the entourage. You thought Tim Tebow was walking in the building today when Diego Pavia showed up. Had a beautiful chain on, had a stud earring on. The dude was a rock star, and I mean, he was not doing a lot of interviews. He was very handpicked. Never in my lifetime would I ever anticipate that a Vandy football player or a Vanderbilt coach in this league would find themselves as a rock star status. You know, Beyonce is playing about 1 mile up the road at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I'm telling you, Diego Pavia, he may draw a bigger crowd than Beyonce based on what I saw today.
Look, I'd much rather see Diego Pavia than Beyonce, Pat, but that to each their own. So this Nick Saban rumor kind of got out of control today.
Okay. Yeah. Let me go ahead and start. Okay. So my teammate, Greg McElroy, he does the show before I do. Mm-hmm. So he goes on this morning with Paul Feinbaum and they have a little discussion about Nick Saban. And then all of a sudden, you know, Brett McMurphy reports and On 3, and then it basically dominated SEC media days. And then I finally grabbed Greg about an hour into our show, and I said, man, Greg Stanky is pissed off at you right now because you have now absolutely taken over SEC media days with this crazy story. And of course, Greg was dumbfounded that it took off like it did. And he came on our show and he basically dispelled all the rumors that, no, I mean, I had a conversation with someone that said, hey, he would love to coach again, but Greg doesn't think he's going to come back into the business because why should he? He hates the way college football is being run right now. The only thing that we kind of kicked around on our show today is that if he ever considered to come back, he did not have a very good experience with the Miami Dolphins. That's why he ended up at Alabama. Could a Jerry Jones tempt him, come, be the head coach of the Star and let me give you a lot of money? Would that maybe for a second make him pause and think about it? But hey, he's got a great life in Jupiter, Florida. Spent a lot of money on a beautiful home down there. He's got a lake home in Lake Burton, still has a place in Tuscaloosa. I just don't know why he would want the headache at that age. So, yeah, it was pretty much one of those things that it was hot for a couple hours, but it was quickly tampered out pretty quickly.
Was Greg just frazzled of I did not say that. Because you say something just casually and next thing you know, you're in the headlines as having said that Nick Saban's coming out of retirement. I just had to imagine that had to be kind of a weird time period.
Yeah, I also asked him, I said, did you get a call from Nick? Did he happen to call you? Because obviously Greg was the quarterback of Nick's first national championship team in Tuscaloosa in 2009 when they beat Texas, as you guys remember. And Greg is from, South Lake.
Yep. We talked to him last week
Texas.
at Big 12 Media Days.
Yeah, he was a part of it.
Yep. Absolutely. And so Greg, I will say this, obviously Greg and knowing Greg for a very long time and being his teammate on the radio for the last few years, I can tell you that he is not a kick over the anthill type guy, and he's not about going viral. He kind of felt bad about the whole situation. So that's why he was very quick to come back on our airwaves and say, okay, look, let's kind of set the record straight here. This is what I said, and this is what I think. And so it's pretty much had a nice quiet death as the day continued.
I wonder if he had a nice quiet death text from Nick Saban at some point today.
Or maybe Jimmy Sexton, Nick's agent going, you know what, you don't need to be doing that because I'm negotiating with somebody, or, he doesn't want to cut off some money that potentially Nick's going to get. So, yeah. And listen, guys, I was really anticipating that Greg Stanky, would kind of piggyback to, Brett Yormark. He had that one little shot at Brett about the doubling down, what Brett said at Big 12 Media Days. But, he played it pretty close to the vest. It was a pretty boring 45 minutes, the state of the conference type situation. But the buzz around here is that the coaches are not relenting. I mean, they still want the 8 conference games, and they believe that this conference is the toughest in America, and they're not willing to give that up. And if they're not willing to give that up, then all of a sudden, they're not going to be a drafting partner with the Big Ten, it appears. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. But as of today, that's what it looks like.
Pat, I need you to help me out with something. They have this 8 or 9 game schedule debate, which we have talked about with you before.
Sure.
Yeah. Can you change the rhetoric from nobody else would want to play 9 games in this league to, hey, look, 8 or 9, we just want everybody to be the same too. If you guys want to go to 8, we'll welcome that. That to me would be better than telling everybody you wouldn't want to do this. And you're like, well, they would if they get that money. I mean, that's the thing. If you told the Big 12 right now they're going to get $80 million a year, they'll play 17 conference games. They don't care.
Sure.
But it's really hard here. I think it's fallen on deaf ears.
Yeah, no, listen, there's no doubt. I mean, we want everybody to be on the same playing field. I personally, and I've said it on y'all's show and I say it on my show every single day, I'm a proponent of 9 conference games. Back in 2020, the SEC played 10 conference games, 10, because obviously you couldn't play any type of non-conference games because of COVID. So what we did is we played 10 conference games. Oh my goodness, it was the best football in the world because every single week, you weren't playing the UT Chattanoogas, you weren't playing Mercers or, the Charleston Southerns. I mean, you were playing big boy football every single week. So I'm a proponent of the 9 conference games. But here you almost have a situation where Tony Petitti at the Big Ten, it's almost like he's already promised the Fox Television Network that, hey, listen, we want these play-in games because we want some extra inventory. Meanwhile, you got the SEC coaches, telling Commissioner Sankey, we don't want to go 9. We want to stay at 8. And ESPN is not willing to pay them a lot more money than the coaches believe that they deserve if they add that extra conference game. So for their opinion, that's where the rubber meets the road in regards to these two conferences really being at a stalemate now. Greg told us today that, we need to all work together and we will come to some type of formality in the near future. But as of right now, guys, it looks like both camps are dug in pretty tight.
Pat, Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt getting a lot of attention here on day one as one of the 4 teams. I mean, got a couple of other big-time quarterbacks there, Nussmeier and Lenore Sellers. But just interesting to see the amount of shine and electricity and, I guess, interest that Pavia has brought to a brand that was, the 16 out of 16 or the 14 out of 14 or whatever. Vandy's got some life right now, don't they?
No, they really do, and it's really interesting because I pay very close attention for obvious entertainment purposes only in my state, but I pay attention to what's going on in Vegas. And about a month and a half ago, Vanderbilt they had a win total of 4.5. Well, it is now up to 5.5. And who knows, guys? I mean, seriously, they leave Atlanta. And in another week or two, based on the type of rock star mentality that most of these media and other folks have on Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt football, that might inch to 6.5. I mean, they really do believe that they can play an extended season. And I'm talking about not only going to a bowl game, but finding themselves in some type of crazy conversation for an extended college football playoff appearance. I mean, that's the kind of confidence. And listen, it's good for the conference. It's good for college football that we're having conversations about Vanderbilt because it's never happened before. And you know what? Once Diego Pavia's, eligibility runs out, which might not be until he's 30 years old, once that happens, then you might be looking at a situation where Vanderbilt would go back to the likes of the way they were before. But it is fun, at least having that conversation right now.
How much or did that Vanderbilt win when Jay Cutler was there?
I mean, they won enough. I mean, listen, Bobby Johnson, he won there. Obviously, Franklin was successful there. He parlayed that into a big-time job. Vandy has had their moments, but they just have not been able to win on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. But when you have a player like Diego Pavia coming in, and because now the level playing field, as long as there's somebody in Nashville that's ready to write a check for somebody, I mean, they can go out like LSU did and sign 18 players to rebuild a roster. I mean, Vanderbilt is proving to people in Nashville that this is a hot product and people want to be a part of it. And that's going to pay dividends for them moving forward in the NIL.
Pat Smith with us, co-host of 3-Man Front, and on us with us, 365 Sports is one of our go-to guys when it comes to the SEC.
Austin Simmons talked today too. And last year with Jackson Dart and all the things that Ole Miss did, winding up 9-3 and just out of the playoffs was a massive disappointment for them. Austin Simmons steps in. Like, a lot of those guys are gone. Obviously, Lane Kiffin knows how to rebuild a roster. What do you get the vibe around Ole Miss this year? And are they confident that they can improve on last year? Or do you expect them to maybe continue on the same path, but maybe not make that step because they've got so many new players?
Well, first off, they have a lot of confidence in Austin Simmons. This is an extremely intelligent young man. He has already graduated college. He's very young. This guy knows the playbook, and I know it was a very short order of film to look at, but if you watch that drive when Jackson Dart got hurt against Georgia last year, Austin Simmons, he looked like he had the tools to do exactly what Lane Kiffin wants to do. They have a lot of confidence in him. Yeah, they lost a lot of players on the offensive side, but talked to a couple Ole Miss people today, and they feel like right now the ceiling for them is 10-2. They think the schedule is manageable. Yes, they got to go to Kentucky. The Kentucky Wildcats got their only SEC win at Oxford last year to kind of upend what Lane Kiffin and that team was doing. But Florida gets to come to Oxford. They don't play Alabama. They don't play Auburn. They've got LSU at home. So it's a situation where they feel like their schedule's manageable enough to where they're going to be solidly in that conversation for the college football playoff. It's funny, because you got about half the league feeling like Ole Miss could be a team that could go 10-2, but you got the other half that believes that because of the players that they've lost, the questions at quarterback, they think that the Rebels might find themselves more of a 7-8 win team than a 10-win team.
Pat, I mean, I know it's just media days, but is there anything out there from today that you found of interest we haven't touched on? Or if not, what are you looking forward to just as far as the next 3 days go the most?
Well, I tell you, tomorrow's going to be really, really great because, I mean, this is of the 4 days that we're here, you've got Auburn coming in here. Hugh Freeze is under obviously he's on the hot seat because of what's going on with not a lot of wins the last couple of years. His golf game has come in question. He's on the hot seat. You got Georgia here tomorrow with Kirby Smart. Are they reloading? Of course, they've got obviously a new quarterback. Then you've got the 2 UTs. You've got Tennessee. You've got Josh Heupel now without Nico and brand new quarterback from App State. Can they get back to the CFP? And the other UT, which is the University of Texas, is Arch Manning. We'll get our first opportunity to see and hear Arch and see what Sarkisian has to say about the Longhorns. So it is going to be a jam-packed day tomorrow. The 4 teams that's going to be here, there's going to be plenty of storylines.
Have you covered a Super Bowl radio row before, Pat?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not had that fortunate opportunity.
Well, it's like I've compared it to Gangs of New York, the movie.
That's a good movie.
You know, they usually have it in a convention center. They've had it elsewhere. But I was trying to describe SEC Media Days and also how it's grown as, of course, the exposure has grown too.
Yeah, listen, guys, you just came from the Big 12 Media Days, and so it would be fascinating to hear you guys kind of tell me about how it's grown for you guys. But for me, you know, I mentioned earlier, my first one was in 1993 in downtown Birmingham, and literally it was across the street from the SEC headquarters. And it literally, in the radio room, there were 6 of us. 6 of us. And like when a coach came in, he didn't like get up on a podium. He literally pulled a chair up, sat down, and like we had just like open forum, just conversations. Nobody raising your hands. It was like running into a friend at a bar and you guys are just kind of, you know, kibitzing about what's going on in the world. That's the way it was. You didn't have to go through SIDs. And then players would come filtering through there. And it was a completely different time. And then literally once the new millennium kicked in, it was early 2000s, and we moved from downtown Birmingham to a suburb of Birmingham to a 5-star hotel that was attached to the biggest mall in the state of Alabama. And then all of a sudden that literally turned into the media circus of fans showing up in the lobby and showing up and autographs and, you know, thousands of people would submit, you know, submissions for credentials. That's when it really got crazy. And of course now, just like everything, it's more corporate in regards to, you know, what you're able to do, who you're able to talk to and go. It's completely different. So it's definitely had the corporatization of college football has come to the SEC in a big way.
They denied our credentials in Dallas last year, and so
that was ridiculous.
We decided to just take it, you know, not put the pressure on them this year, Pat.
Isn't it amazing how this stuff happens?
We need Pat Smith to run interference because you're a mover and a shaker. I remember Brett McMurphy said, "What do you mean you guys aren't going?" I told him we didn't have our credentials. We can go to the Super Bowl and everything else
That's
imaginable. We'll see where it is next year, but we will try to see. Well, I wouldn't mind being there for a day or two. I think we'd have a hell of a time. And also,
listen. Hey, let me tell you something. You know, it's not been announced yet where it's going to be next year. Now, of course, it was right up the road in Dallas from you guys last year. That'd have been a great opportunity. But I really do believe. I mean, you guys do such a great job covering college football. I really, I'm going to give you a personal invitation to come to next year's SEC Media Days because you guys would absolutely be a hit. You guys would get so much great content. It would be a wonderful trip for you guys. So you need to put that on your calendar.
Well, I mean, I think we will. We'll go to Big 12, give us about 4 or 5 days to decompress and then get set up for the SEC Media Days.
I promise you guys will get credentialed here at the SEC Media Days. I can promise you that.
All right, Pat, thank you very much. Anything else, guys, for Pat Smith? I know it's been a long, busy day for you. Good luck the rest of the week with your coverage. You are always a go-to for us. We appreciate your time.
Oh, guys, you guys are the best. I always appreciate it. You guys have a good afternoon. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Pat Smith from the mega WJOX Birmingham at SEC Media Days in Atlanta.
somehow my pass will still get canceled or not approved. Me and Sankey.
Well, if Paul and Craig would stop taking these poor cheap shots, great gentleman and Craig Sankey.
Last year, though, between me and Craig, me calling him Kim Jong Sankey and Craig calling him Snakey. I mean, I get it. But I mean, I was pretty bitter.
No, it was we applied for credentials actually last year in Dallas and got turned down, and then you see the area they're in, and we're told there's not enough room, and it's like, well, there's some room, and there's some room, and there's some room, and it's like I just laughed about it in turning around and doing back to back. That would be a lot of work, but good to have Pat on. And man, when Arch hits that area tomorrow for media, that's going to be quite the circus that I imagine they haven't seen. I mean, probably since Tebow, right? Probably since that kind of reaction to somebody.
I can't remember. I thought it was in the last 2 to 3 years where there was somebody at SEC Media Days, and for whatever reason, I don't know if because they had some issues or what, but I remember someone said that the crowd was monstrous.
Yeah, I don't know.
Arch will be huge.
Yeah,
no
Arch
question.
will be huge, and the requests will be infinite, I would imagine. But yeah, Texas will bring some excitement to Radio Row with the others that'll be there. And I just, kind of curious to see what trickles out here over the coming days. It's just media days. I don't want to blow it out of proportion too much, but there are things that slip out when people are talking all day long, or just reports that come out or announcements that are made. And no big splash announcement by Sankey's, like Pat said. There's outside of the shot to your mark, there was nothing that he said that was memorable. Like absolutely nothing. I read the recap that you sent over, and it was like, okay, still undecided on a schedule. Mm-hmm. Still not agreeing with the Big Ten.
Wants a bigger basketball tournament.
Wants a bigger basketball tournament, so you get every team in the league in there. Takes a shot at your mark in his doubling down comments, and that was pretty much it. That was pretty much his opening address. There was nothing that was like super juicy. The juiciest thing out of the day was the Nick Saban rumor that now has been cleared up and is starting to die on the vine because people have realized there's not really anything to it. But it's been fun though to kind of just see the reaction from the other side of the media row, like not being in the middle of it, but kind of just seeing it from the outside and seeing what happens these next few days.
Wet Blanket, thank you very much. Nobody does media days like 365 Sports. Thank you very much. We had an incredible couple of days there. No question.
We had somebody stop me on the way out and say, or maybe it was on the way out day 2. Just like, I didn't think y'all ever got up from your table, because every time I looked over at you guys, you had guest after guest after guest. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much how it felt.
You should have seen Craig a couple of times when we were just past that little bit midway through where you could get lunch, which I thought it was very simple with what they did, the sandwiches and et cetera. And there were times I said, no, we got so-and-so next to Craig. We're just like, oh, my God.
Well, I like interviews
you can walk away
to an extent. And you guys know there's sometimes I just want a little bit more talk time. And you know what? It just depends on the mood. But I get with that event that you have head coaches. It's when we suddenly wanted to squeeze in like the random DB. And I'm like, no, I need a sandwich.
We actually didn't get him.
Because you couldn't get it, but you tried to.
Yeah, no, we were supposed to.
We were supposed to get him.
We're working through
I'm more like we've had Leipold, Aranda, and like I was going to name like all the guys we didn't have, but
we only 3 coaches. Gundy, who's not going to do it. Brennan, because we had just had him. Dion, and Matt Campbell.
And so we had like 3 guys in a row, and all of a sudden it's like, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to get a drink or something. It's like, hey, we got the Colorado so-and-so. I was like, oh, my God.
No, that was going to be live.
Yeah,
if anyone needs to say I got to go to the bathroom, it's me.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we were very busy. I think we would do SEC Media Days, right? I think we'd do ACC Big Ten Media Days, right? Because I do think we do it well. So, yeah, appreciate you, Wet Blanket, as always.
Here is 70-plus NFL executives, coaches, general managers, etc. This came from ESPN today. Thought this would be a nice little change-up. By the way, Phil Bennett will join us next. The top 10 quarterbacks, and then, of course, they had a little summary of each one. There we have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, a tremendous debate about those first 3 or 4 especially. Jaden Daniels, who just jumped right up into it after his rookie year. Stafford, the old veteran who just keeps on playing well. Justin Herbert, boy, he's got to start doing some things in the postseason.
Jared Goff?
Hey, look, I think the three guys who are behind him should all be above him.
Yeah.
They're all more accomplished. He's a good player, but also the fact that Jalen Hurts is at 9 on this list is insulting to the quarterback who's played in the last 2 Super Bowls and won one of them, for God's sake.
Yeah, I just think because of how he plays, the style that he plays, he does not get enough respect at all. And then Mayfield has turned out to be one hell of an NFL pro quarterback.
Well, Baker could have gone to the wayside pretty easily if he had elected to let his demons win, and I don't mean demons like anything nefarious, but just if he let the negativity weigh on him and not had that, like, I'm going to prove you attitude that he's always had that's always made him successful. Like, a lot of guys in that position would have washed out, but he's always had that attitude, and he's always had that chip that's so well publicized. And to his credit, as he's typically done time and time again, he got into a situation where he had an opportunity to prove himself, and he had the right situation around him, and they've made the best of it, and they've formed a really good partnership there in Tampa. So I've been ecstatic to see that for Baker, because it looked like his career, shocker with the Browns, was going to go a certain direction, and he's turned it around. So that place is just I'm sure a lovely city, but I mean, in general, but just a cesspool of a football organization in terms of just the amount of misfires and everything they've had over the years. But yeah, the first thing that jumps out is Herbert over all 3 of the guys behind him. That makes little sense to me. But damn if it's not cool to be a Commanders fan these days, which I haven't been able to say it's been cool to be a Washington fan in a really long time. But as of last year, with that young man at number 5, it's pretty damn cool again. So thank you, Jaden Daniels. Just stay healthy, and I'm looking forward to everything that you have in store as a Commanders fan, because, man, what a difference that made last year, just the whole NFL season, being able to be excited about something for once.
Just as a Washington fan, it's just you hope you can have 2, 3, 8, 10 in a row, because it's been hard to have follow-up years. Says about Herbert, and then Phil Bennett, immense talent keeps him in the top 7, but hasn't vaulted him into the first tier of quarterbacks, despite elite production. 21,000 passing yards are the most in NFL history through 5 years. I did not know that. Last season, he was asked to sacrifice yardage, part of offensive coordinator Greg Roman's run-heavy attack. So his yards per attempts, his attempts per game dropped like 6 per game. Many evaluators agree if starting the league from scratch and drafting quarterbacks, Herbert is still getting picked very high.
Interesting not to see Trevor Lawrence, and not because he deserves to be, but because I remember once upon a time when he was the next big thing, and unfortunately he's gone to a very Cleveland-like organization in Jacksonville where just things typically don't usually go all that well. But yeah, he's a young guy who I thought would be higher on this list at this point in his career, but then again, you go to the Jags and we'll see what happens ultimately there.
I did not know this. Herbert's 15 game-winning drives are the most from any quarterback drafted 2020 or later, but he's 0-2 in the playoffs. Players above him in the top 10, a quote from an executive, consistently create more off-schedule plays, more dangerous in the 2-minute drill, and have won in the postseason. So there's a little bit of a summary on the name that when I saw that, I'm like, is he that high? But that's the summary.
Is who that high? Sorry. What?
Are you trying to find your voice or something?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Well, that segment's that's over. Phil Bennett joins us next. You have a question for Coach Bennett in the chat, please include my name in it. I'll see it because it lights up, or Paul's, and then we'll ask that question for him. He's next. And this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. 4th of July came and went. They had a great weekend for that. And, of course, throughout the summer as people start to travel. Summer blowout sale continues, hotter than Texas asphalt. Now, that may not be true with all the damn rain that's calmed things down and cooled everything off a little bit. Massive savings on the new and pre-owned vehicles. I've told you about my buying experience for the 2017 Ford Explorer. I love that car, and I got it at Alan Samuels when I went there looking for a new car, and they had some great deals on new cars too. For example, right now, pre-owned 1999 Jeep Wrangler, built to thrill, 85,000 miles, a lift kit, aftermarket wheels, tires that scream rugged style. The best part, It's yours for $15,000. Classic Jeep won't last very long. Go by Alan Samuels. CEO and general manager is Ted Teague. Also, head to Alan Samuels where you get a huge selection, quality pre-owned vehicles at just $9,500. So if you're looking for something and you just don't want to have to sign something that's going to put you against the interest rate and a long-term payment and all that, they have those available as well. Need more room? Alan Samuels got a third-row SUVs starting at under $20,000. Those are just some of what they have right now on the lot. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Come by. Let's be friends.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Man, we have people clamoring. There he is, the beautiful backyard. Thank God there's sun. Phil Bennett, longtime college football.
Right now, Smokey.
Oh, you're underneath the cover, huh?
Yes.
Man, I tell you what, it's been unbelievable, the tragedy and all of what happened last week. But it's like every morning at 5 o'clock, I hear thunderstorms that wake me up. It's like we're in Hawaii.
Every day we've had them at this time in the evening, and extensive rain. For 2 hours. I will tell you this: my water bill, I'm not paying much this month. We're getting plenty of water.
Hey, I had a question for you, and somebody had asked me this, and I hope I didn't ask you the last time. I don't think I did. What was your recruitment like out of high school? Can you kind of take us back? I don't think I've asked you that before.
I just did a podcast for a guy out of Penn State, it was like a month ago, and he just put it out, and I've been getting all these texts and stuff, and I told the story. When I came out, David, it was the first year of 30 scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had been signing all these, 6 classes of 80 and all these things. And this was the first year. And, being from the Architects, we were sort of a tri-state. I always thought I was going to go to Arkansas. My brother Jim, best friend, was Ronnie Hammers, who was an All-American guard at Arkansas. We used to go to the games. We went to Sugar Bowl when they played Ole Miss, when they played Georgia. I was a big Arkansas fan. Coach Broyles spoke at our banquet. And then I started getting more offers. I got offered by Arkansas, LSU, Tennessee, SMU, Texas, A&M. And, of course, you remember that's the year that Earl came out. And in our conference, in Marshall, Longview, Tyler, Texarkana, Lufkin, we had 5 guys. Kilgore was in that area, too. We had 5 guys that were highly recruited. And I ended up visiting Texas and thought I might want to go there. And Emory Blard just sort of sold me. He said they had just had a real good recruiting class with Bubba Bean, Pat Thomas, Lester Hayes was in my class.
Wow.
And then they had started, recruiting the African-American players. And he said, we're going to turn this program in. The school was changing. The girls were coming. And I don't know what it was.
I do.
When it all came down to it, Ken Dabbs, who ended up being a lifelong friend of mine.
That's right.
Ken was a guy that just I loved him. I mean, was pivotal in my career. Helped me. Of course, I didn't go to Texas, and he always told me, he goes, you put me in a bind. You left Coach Royals at the Gables restaurant, and you didn't show up. The truth is, he forgot. I did show up, but Coach Royal got so mad when I told him I was going to A&M. He left so fast, he left Ken. So,
yeah, Ken Dabbs, a great. He is a major part. Man, I think we did touch on it because he's the one that had a huge influence on the recruitment of Earl Campbell too.
Right, and he, Corky Nelson, who we all love, and Corky used to tell me, he said, I thought Earl was definitely going to Oklahoma. And he said, Ken just coming in, and he just a wonderful man, just a wonderful man. One of the things, I think I told you this, but the Arkansas staff, Richard Williamson was recruiting me. Jimmy Johnson was the defensive coordinator. Merv Johnson was the assistant head coach. Harold Horton, they just had a who's who of guys up there. Bill Lewis, who ended up being a longtime head coach, was a secondary coach. And, back then the Southwest Conference was the bomb. That's where you wanted to stay.
What do you think? It's media days. It's talking season, obviously, Phil. But what do you think is the real – are there gaps between the conferences that you think are as big as the conferences like to say, or do you think that it's a lot smaller than people think?
We were talking about it with some other coaches that are a couple of Hall of Fame coaches, and they think coming into this year it will be about as balanced. In every league, and I mean from the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Big 12. And the reason they think that is just portal and they really believe, and I believe this also, is that evaluation is going to be so crucial. I mean, everything is about the here and the now. There's no building, hey, we've got a good program for 3 years. No, it's here and now. You better deal with the here and now. And whoever can get those guys at the highest level the quickest is going to win.
Coach, everybody's always in this sport looking for that advantage, and more high profile, like the Connor Stallion story a couple years ago, and then more surface level things that we don't ever really hear about. It seems like every time, though, that the same group asks for rules, they're given rules, and they don't want to play by the rules. They don't like the rules. Do you think, though, that everybody for the betterment of the sport can actually do their best to try and play by the rules, or is it just in the blood of the sport that somebody's going to try to bend it as far as possible?
I know you've done this for a while, but you're still young to me. There used to be a saying: if you weren't cheating, you weren't trying.
I know.
And I think that, and this is my philosophy. I never, and I can say this with a straight face, an honest heart, I never compromise my integrity. And I would never want to put somebody else in a position that I would compromise theirs. I've seen people, I've watched it, I've heard it over. Just out and out cheat, and I think in the end it catches up with you. And I think what you're saying now, everybody said, "Hey, everything's even." No, it's not. It will never be even. There are going to be people that will spend more time trying to cheat instead of finding a way to do it right. It's just unfortunately, it's the nature of the business. It's the competition. It's whatever you want to call it. But I think that's happening now. I think you can see it. You got people, talking about, hey, my quarterback's getting recruited off. He's not in the portal and he's still getting recruited. It's going to keep happening.
Phil, did you ever confront another coach who was recruiting against you if you knew that perhaps they had given the bag?
Absolutely. I have a story I can tell you in private that happened in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with a former head coach. He wasn't a head coach then, but it was fisticuffs.
Oh, really?
Yes. 1 o'clock at night, caught him, trailed him. Hell, I was like an unmarked car.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Our tea time tomorrow morning, 7:30. Wow.
I got to tell you something else. Another one in Florida, I let the air out of his coach. To this day, I've never told him. I let the air out of his Lincoln Continental because I knew he was going back to see this kid, and we were staying at the Palm Beach Hilton. And I let he woke up the next morning, and I've heard him tell the story. He goes, I had 4 damn flat tires.
No. Oh, my God.
And he's a good guy. He wasn't the cheater. The head coach was. But the head coach was in there that night, and I jumped the fence. It was in Pahokee, Florida. I jumped the fence and listened to them talk how they were going to pay this kid. How about that?
Hey,
yeah.
Let me tell you, Phil, I used to play against Pahokee.
Where is it, Paul?
It's in the middle of Florida.
It's in the muck.
It's in the muck. It's in the muck.
It's where everybody, if you ran 4 or 5 down there, you were slow.
Yeah.
I mean, that you if you could catch a rabbit, then you probably start on the Pahokee football team. It was there was a lot of good players out of there.
Oh yeah, Anquan Bolden is from Pahokee, Florida.
Is he really?
Yeah, Anquan Bolden's from.
Well, it's a hell of a place then.
Oh no.
Well, Ricky Jackson is from there, who played at Pitt. There's a lot. There's a lot of great players that came out of Pahokee.
I can tell you, my freshman year in high school, I wasn't on the varsity team, but they came in and we beat them in the regular season. We wound up going to state that year and losing to Lake Butler, Union County, which is also just full of badass football players.
Right.
But I remember thinking like, oh, I really hope I never have to play them. Like they were the scariest dudes I'd ever seen. Like I remember like sitting inside the locker room and watching them get off the bus. I was like, oh God. I'm happy to be 14 right now. That's all, and not playing this game.
Phil, did you watch their coach? He coached with a paddle.
I know what you're talking about. I remember. Yeah.
Oh,
I remember.
I got to meet. Oh, I hope he's around still. When you went, no matter all the places you went, were you usually assigned? You mentioned recruiting in Florida, but were you normally assigned to Texas because that's your bread and butter? Or
Yes, it was. But this was I was the defensive coordinator at LSU, and actually it wasn't a high school kid. It was 2 junior college kids out of who Jim Gush was coaching at Garden City, and they were both from Pahokee. and you know, it was a battle royal. Intertwined with people that today that we still laugh, that I truly love. You know, big time coaches, big time coordinators. I mean, but it was just, you know, it was, as I told somebody, I can't tell the truth till a few more people die and I write my book.
Got a question from in the chat. What will it take for Houston with Willie Fritz to get going? They're in a nice little spot right now with recruiting. They've got that highly level 5-star quarterback committed if they can keep him, which I hope they do. What will it take for Willie Fritz? He's never had to get on a flight since he got there to recruit around that area.
I think, number one, I like his staff. You know, I think that I've talked the young coordinator that he hired from Florida, Austin, is a really good coach. Of course, Sean Bell's there. I just think Willie does a nice job of managing his staff. I think they're evaluating players well, and I keep saying that. I mean, I can't emphasize enough. Everybody talks about, well, Texas Tech's going to do this. Texas, you know, let's see how they bring them together, and did they evaluate them well? I think they're doing that at U of H. And I don't think Willie he's not a guy, and don't get me wrong, he wants to win, and he wants to win fast, but I don't think he's going to sell his soul to do it the wrong way.
You brought up Texas Tech there, and I can't remember if I asked you about this the last time we had you on, but just what in your circles of talking to coaches, you know, both current and ex, I mean, just what's kind of the chatter about what Joey and company have done out there, and the buzz that's built, and now the expectations that they're leaning into. They're not running from them. I mean, they've created them in so many ways, but what are people saying from the outside and inside about all this Texas Tech publicity?
I think, without question, Joey has been told, "No, listen, we're selling out. We expect you know, we expect the results on the field." And somebody told me, said, "Well, you know, Joey's really, you know, embracing them." I mean, are you going to tell Cody Campbell, who's giving you multi-millions, that you can't win with what he's giving you?
Right.
I mean, hell no. I mean, now, I will tell you this: I like Joey, but you're finding, you know, Joey is inexperienced in college football. I mean, he really is, and doesn't mean I didn't say he's a bad coach. The inexperience aspect. You know, I always liked the way Art handled it. He goes, "Hey, we're getting better," and he could sell it without being, "Hey, I'm embracing it." And I think that Joey probably has no choice but to do that because of what they're putting into it. And I look at them as a football team. I went to their first game last year when they played Abilene Christian, and you know, they really thought they were going to be better defensively last year, and I didn't see it. Didn't see it all year. I know they've gotten better. They've got 2 coordinators that have never coached on that level. I mean, and there's something to it. I mean, Woods and the young Mac, the young offensive coordinator. I'm not saying they can't, but there's not a history of them saying, "Hey, this guy has a resume." It's going to be interesting, you know. And I think that you look at their expectations, and if you're not careful, you look at their schedule, and the first 4 games, I mean, it could slide away from you really fast, or you could be on a roll. And I'm not saying that they won't, but I know this. This is a here and now game, and you better find a way to win early, get started, and then roll with it. I'm not sure Morton at quarterback is a guy. I think he's a good quarterback. I'm not sure he's a great quarterback. And along with that, they lost their number one running back. And so they've got some things to prove. And you can do a lot of talking, in front of a mic. You can do a lot of talking in to the newspapers, the print, but you got to play. And now I do like their commitment. Don't get me wrong. I like their commitment, but it's going to be interesting to see how that all folds out.
I remember recently you and I were talking about a coach who became a defensive coordinator who had been always a position coach, and he was somewhat younger, and you were worried about that, and it proved to be true. That it doesn't mean he's not going to be or wasn't smart.
No,
it's just, the bullets are flying.
It's crazy, and I'm a coach advocate. I say this about Joey. Joey has worked his ass off. But you look, his short time with Matt Rule, there's just things you learn, and Joey's smart. He is learning. I know he is. But you've got Mac, who's been at Texas State, and I know he's a bright young coach. Shield is a bright young coach, but being in charge and doing it at the level, that they're going to ask him to do it in this quick. And I always go back to this. You have to build this team immediately. There's not a lot of the one that can identify, find their strength, and use it. Coaching will be at a premium. And I think that, there's a saying. I've said this forever. And my brother Jerry, God bless him. By the way, David, he would have been 75 today.
Oh my goodness!
He had a saying, and it's a dang good one. He said, "You can't put stripes on a private," and you have to watch. That's why your staff is so. You've got to really be careful who you put in charge these days.
When you got on the headsets, I'm sorry, Paul. When you got on the headsets, either up in the box or on the sideline, and you were not the head coach or coordinator, do you remember a moment early on in your career when you went, "Oh my God," like like your mind was screwed up and you were like blurry-eyed from just
Absolutely. I can remember Coach F.A. Dry. We are going to beat SMU. I'm at TCU, and with Eric Dickerson, Craig James, we're playing in Texas Stadium, and I actually was coaching on offense. I was coaching the tackles, tight ends. Best thing I ever did, because I worked with a guy named John Payne that was brilliant, and I made a statement. I said, we're at the goal line. I said, the wide dump is wide open. I said, the safety's working out to number one. The ball was like on the 4-yard line. And F.A. heard me. He goes, okay, wide dump. Play it.
Oh, no.
Well, the safety didn't move and picked it. And after the game, we lose. I think the score was 13 to maybe to 12. Eric Dickerson made a play late, kicked the field goal, beat us. And he's in the locker room. And he didn't call my name, but he got on me and the defensive coordinator. He goes, got a defensive coordinator that doesn't know that Eric Dickerson wasn't hurt and puts in a backup middle linebacker. And he said, then we got a stinking Aggie telling me to run the wide dump right to the down safety. I never said a word. I just got dressed and got my ass out of that dressing room.
Bill Bennett with us. A lot of times Mondays, we're not far away from the start of the regular season. Paul?
So because guys are coming into the spring or later, you don't have as much time with them to develop them. So how much do you have to bet on the guys that they're really that dedicated so that they learn these things on their own because you have limited time with a coach? It's got to be way harder than knowing, like, all right, look, I know this kid can run, but he needs 15 pounds of muscle. Or I know this kid is a behemoth, but he's flabby right now,
Absolutely. That's what I told you earlier. Those coaching will be at the premium, the very premium. You have to put it together very fast. You've got to evaluate what can he do, how, what are his strengths, how can we use his strength, and does he fit what we're doing? And I think you look at the time, And like you said, a lot of these kids didn't go through spring. Some of them. So, and you're to get started. If you're going to be involved, I mean, you look at Baylor's schedule early. You know, you're playing Auburn. You're playing SMU. You got to be ready to go. There's no time for slack there.
Yeah, their first Big 12 games, Arizona State as well, I think.
That's exactly
right. So
right.
They really got their work cut out for them. Okay, so SEC Media Days is going on. I know you have a personal relationship with Jeff Lebby, so I don't expect you to tell us any, closed-door talk or anything, but I was just curious on what you kind of anticipate for Mississippi State. I mean, there are no expectations outside, at least. They're kind of, almost, I don't know if unanimously, but they're being pegged as one of the worst, if not the worst school this year in the SEC. Blake Shapen, he's still around somehow, some way. He's still around there in Starkville, but they're going to be going here in a couple days. So what do you expect from Lebby with a year under his belt?
I talked to Art, and of course, it's when you're away from it, you see things, and I didn't believe they were very sound at all on defense. They never stopped the run on any game that I watched. I think they hired a guy that probably is not qualified, and I think Jeff decided to go with the same staff. I think they're going to have some issues. And when you can't get enough stops and you're running, that offense, you better have a recipe of playing together. And I think that can be an issue for them.
Phil, it's an incredible time. Anytime we can have you on the show. We've asked you about recruiting, both you personally, but also you recruiting, et cetera. You've told us the great stories about Xavier Howard and others. Who's the one that got away that still haunts you to this day?
I think, David, I mean, there's guys that you sit there and you say, God, how'd we miss him?
Mm-hmm.
And one of them that I was talking about, I mean, this was a kid when I was at LSU and he was at Garden City. His name was Kevin Bowie. Played in the NFL. He went to Mississippi State.
Yep.
And Jackie Sherrill, and ended up playing the NFL. And Jackie did a great job with him. I mean, he was a guy that you sit there and you go, okay, this is the guy. But defensively, I can't. I know they're out there. I mean, we played so many, recruited so many that went on to the next level. At Baylor, the thing we fought, everybody used to tell our recruits, they don't care about defense at Baylor. They don't care. It's this, and they couldn't say that later in the year. I mean, in later years when we were good enough to beat all of them.
Yeah,
so
we always.
I can't just pick out one, and I don't want to recognize them because
right.
As I used to play games with them. When they told me, they said, "Okay, I'm going to go to OU or this." I said, "Hey, we're going to play a little game here." And what's that, Coach? I said, let's see who can hang up the fastest. I'd slam the phone down, never to be heard from again.
Pahokee, Florida, Kevin Bowie. I knew he spelled his name a little bit different. Bouie instead of Bowwie. Hell of a player, you're right, who went to Pahokee or was from Pahokee, Florida.
Fred Taylor went to Pahokee.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord. They had some dudes. Now, actually, I'll just tell you this. Had we won my senior year, we played a team called Avon Park.
Right.
And they were some bad dudes too. They were kind of like right in the middle, like right there in the middle of nowhere, Florida, Avon Park. But if we had won that game, our next opponent was Pahokee, and we would have had to play Bolden. And I'm kind of glad it ended when it did in a game that was a little bit closer because Bolden
beat the snot. Pahokee is a town of 5,500.
Oh, and apparently they're all like Anquan Bolden and Fred Taylor. It's unbelievable.
I don't know if you remember this, but there was a big deal, Paul, years ago where Pahokee would always scrimmage St. Thomas Aquinas. And, they're so much bigger. And finally, the coach from St. Thomas said, "We're done with this." He said, he said, "We lose too many guys."
Yeah. No, it's one thing to see
St. Thomas Aquinas. That's gold stuff.
Can my guys but Pahokee, like their culture is, you're not like, you might beat us, but you're gonna feel it. Yeah. Like that is absolutely how it's been. Like, of course, I haven't been back there in over 20 years, really, but even then, I hear it talked about all the time. I talk to my friends back home. I, text my buddy who's the athletic director, and I was like, "How's it going?" He's like, "What do you play Dan Pahokee next week?" And I was like, "All right, well, we'll bring extra trainers.
Yep,
you're gonna need them."
I mean, that's the way it is. Smoak. I'm gonna bring one guy's name up.
Okay,
that crushed me. When we were recruiting, I was recruiting a kid in Nacogdoches named Brandon Jones. You remember Brandon?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yes, I do.
And I not just thought he was a great player. I loved his family. His dad had died. He had little brothers, and Jim Gush and I were recruiting him. And I mean, I fell in love with the family, and I did. I felt like I could help him. And when he went to Texas, they were never very good on defense. And now he shined, ended up getting drafted by the Dolphins. And I'll never forget this. Like a year or two ago, a guy from Denver called me. A guy used to be a GA for me. He goes, "Tell me about Brandon Jones." And I said, "I love him. I think he wasn't used right." And he goes, "Well, he can't stay healthy, this and that." And he goes, Denver takes a chance on him. And I think he played lights out last year.
That's
and
awesome.
He was a great kid.
It reminds me, and I grew up, I started covering high school football in 81. T.J. Turner was at Lufkin. And you brought up Nacogdoches. They had a guy named Mark Moore who turned out he was a hellacious defensive back. And they beat Temple in a bi-district game at Old Texas Stadium. And when you brought up Nacogdoches, Steve McCarty was the head coach. They had never been any good. Never been any good. And I could just go on forever. With some of those names that I saw when I was early on in my career.
I'm going to tell you, before we break, I'm going to tell you one quick story. We recruited a DB, I'm not going to say his name, out of Dallas-Fort Worth. And, man, we worked our ass. And we thought we had him. And at the last minute, Venables and his DB coach goes in there, and he goes to OU. And we were in that run there. We had Corey Coleman on a receiver. We had, we had speed. We had, I forgot who else. But he ended up starting the last 2 years, and he would be on the sideline. And Jim Gush and I and Casey Horney would sit there and say, "Hey, so-and-so, it's coming at you. Get ready. It's a go route." We had him so screwed up. I think in the game we beat them, scored 52 points. After the game, all their coaching staff were wanting to fight us because they thought we were messing with them.
Man, you guys had some dudes at wide receiver, but of course a lot of different. Hey, thank you, Phil. Appreciate it as always. Golly, that's great. Phil Bennett with us. Pretty much ready to get into that schedule where we have him on most every Monday. We could just hear him talk about stories forever.
Look, when you go and play golf with him, if you don't text me right away and tell me what coach he
we got to know who he beat the hell out of him. Yeah, I
want to know who's the air.
I got to say it privately though.
I won't say anything, but that. I guarantee you there's 100 stories, 1,000 stories like that. Recruiting's tough, man. And if you can make sure a guy doesn't make it to the recruiting visit, heck, Barry Switzer's move was, we're going to put you in a hotel the night before signing day. And
yep, that's exactly right. Hide him as much as he could.
Yeah. He wasn't even afraid to tell that story when it was illegal. I was like, yeah, that's what we do. So,
yeah, good talking to Coach as always, and I guess I'm going to hit that under on Mississippi State coming up in 2025.
Yeah,
that didn't sound very promising. How the hell does Blake Shapen still have eligibility left?
I didn't know he was. When you said that, I said
he's actually a fifth year, so he should have eligibility. But still, just to see him continuing to play at this point, because he did start his Baylor career pretty much right out of the gates. So it feels like he's been playing for forever. But yeah, he's still there. He's their media day rep. Even though they got Van Buren, the young quarterback.
Yeah.
But Shapen's the media day rep. They're not bringing Van Buren, so we'll see how that all plays out eventually. But, I saw that guest list, and I was like, my God, Blake Shapen is still around, and just no talk about Mississippi State. Like, just absolutely zero talk about them. And if you can't even get somebody who's pretty, close to the situation to throw a little sunshine on it, well, then that's probably for good reason.
By the way, there's a quote from SEC Media Days. This is from Chip Brown, who covers Texas, about David Cutcliffe, longtime coach, was at Duke. He's still at Duke, right? No, he's gone.
Yeah.
He said, I sent Arch Manning his scholarship papers the day he was born. I was the head coach at Ole Miss when he was born, so I had Courier take the scholarship papers to his father, Cooper, at the hospital the day he was born. That's the lineage, man. That's the lineage. Great quote. On the Twitter feed from Chip Brown. When we come back, we'll look at Georgia, the Bulldogs, SEC schedule, Paul's top 5, and Andrew with the poll results. Thank you. If you have not subscribed to our show, we would appreciate you do that. And this is 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com. Healthcare the way it should be. An MRI used to be very time-consuming. I've discussed that before, where you have to sit around and I heard somebody selling. This might have been. I don't know where it was, but they were in a waiting room. They had a doctor's appointment. They were in a waiting room, and an hour and 15 minutes later, they got inside to see the doctor. And man, if we're an hour or 15 minutes late, they canceled the appointment. Imaging centers are packed. A lot of people are hurt. A lot of things that are bothering their back, their shoulder, their legs, or whatever. Ideal MRI, every time I have been there are one or two people that are sitting in the waiting room, because it's not a very large waiting room. You're like, I've never waited. By the time I just check boxed here and there when it comes, and I pre-enroll being there, I've never waited more than 10 or 15 minutes, and I don't even know if it's been that long. I walk in the door. I tell them who I am. Usually they say, hey, how you doing? And I'm back in that one locker area where you take your clothes off and you put on what you wear, that whatever that is, gown, inside the MRI imaging machine. It is phenomenal, and it will never cost you more than $497. Your scan will be read by board-certified subspecialists. The techs, the specs, they're fantastic. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners have done an amazing job. It's worth the drive wherever you are to go to Ideal MRI, just on the south part of Waco off I-35.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student-athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student-athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student-athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
All right, we enter this midway through the month of July, and we're early on in the SEC, their 16-team league, as we decipher the schedules. Not so much predictions, but really kind of the uniqueness. I saw somebody make a comment about how Craig has turned what could be a boring situation looking at schedules and made it an art form. So, Craig, we have Georgia.
Yeah, it's time for Georgia now, guys. Really excited to be talking about them today. I just had to be a smartass about that comment and really tone this down.
That came
doing
from
too
a heavy
well for
hitter.
myself. No, I appreciate whoever said that. I try to make this as interesting as it can be because it is, after all, just looking at schedules. But I do want to clear up. I do know Michael Van Buren's at LSU and not at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I don't know if it sounded that way when I said it, but it's just weird how they went from having like a little bit of hope and excitement in this young quarterback, and now here they are, and it's Blake Shapen again. You know what I mean?
He's starting?
Yes, he's their media day rep. That's what I just said. Yeah.
God, okay.
That's what I was saying. You had Michael Van Buren, and he's at LSU now behind Nussmeier. So you know who they've got coming down the pipeline. I wanted to clear the air on that because Van Buren's not at Mississippi State. It's the Shapen show, and that's just crazy because it seems like he's been in college for 7 years.
There's nothing about Blake. I know he left and it was time to leave because they thought it was time for Baylor wanted to go a different direction. No, I wish him well.
Yeah, good luck to him. He was part of their best team ever, and I hope he can stay healthy and have a full year because that's what cut short his year last year was the injuries once again. So good luck to Blake. He's a nice dude. But this is about the Georgia Bulldogs. So here we go. A look in, not so much a prediction. And Georgia, last year, disappointing finish, losing to the Fighting Irish there on January the 2nd in the Sugar Bowl playoff quarterfinal matchup down in New Orleans. And their third loss of the year. Kind of a down year from that standpoint for Georgia to not finish in the national championship game and to finish with 3 losses over your head. Did win the SEC, though, obviously, and finished 11-3. Overall had the big pair of wins over Texas that were part of their highlight package. But new year, new team. And how does everything look on paper for them? Well, looks pretty good for starters because you will play host to Marshall on Saturday, August the 30th. There is one non-Saturday game for Georgia, and we'll get to that at the very end. But Marshall up first on August the 30th, already announced as a 2:30 ESPN kick. And see, that's a game where when people talk about these TV networks and like Cody Campbell last week about, well, we got Saturdays. Like I know there's other games on August 30th, but like, a main ESPN game is Georgia-Marshall, which is great for Marshall.
Yeah.
But you would just think there might be bigger matchups early on than on main ESPN, but that they will be main ESPN in the afternoon against Marshall. The following week, they will play host to Austin Peay. So that's what you're looking at in your non-con before you get into SEC play. They're in week number 3, and it opens up with a couple of bangers, as Smokey would say, but first things first, Saturday, September the 13th in Knoxville. It'll be Georgia and Tennessee. No love lost there. 2:30 ABC kickoff. And Tennessee, post Nico, getting a big challenge out of the gates early on. We'll see kind of where they are with Aguilar and company at that point, but huge test for them. Georgia then will have their first bye week. So their first 3 games, Marshall, Austin Peay, win, and then at Tennessee, which is a little bit more of a curve than a fastball there. But how much of a curve is it? We have no idea at this point in time. But then they take their first break. So that means at some point they're going to have a pretty significant couple of chunks. But, that's an interesting kind of mild start for season ticket holders there.
Yeah, look, and if I'm picking a team that could roll through and have a really great record this year and then be maybe surprised at the end, it might be Georgia, because they really do. Like this schedule, again, on paper, just looking ahead, I mean, their non-conference schedule is, I mean, outside of their last non-conference game that they play every year, it kind of
almost like they shouldn't even be playing these teams. I mean, it's so lopsided.
And I don't want to like crap on these teams at all, but when you're sitting in Atlanta today going like, oh man, it's really hard to play in the SEC. Like, all right.
Why do you have to sound like a Southern guy? But I mean, Georgia Tech's a non-conference game.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's. But the other 3, I mean, you
could take the best players on all 3 of those teams, make a super team of those 3 teams, and they would still get blown out by 40, pretty much. So, yeah. So they will take that break after Tennessee, and at least that road trip early in the first month of the season, they'll test them a little bit. And before they get out of September, they'll have 2 weeks to prepare, but it's Alabama between the hedges there in Athens. That's already been announced as an ABC night game on September the 27th. So Tennessee and Bama with a bye week sandwiched in between. They'll stay at home the following week and play host to Kentucky, which not a lot really expected with them. I think, if anything, maybe the more interesting topics like who's the next head coach at Kentucky at this point. But they'll play Kentucky at home, and then it is back on the road for a meeting with Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Then a whole home game against Ole Miss, and in a pretty evenly broken up schedule, they'll get their second bye week. So they'll have a 5-game stretch to close the year, but that middle stretch, Bama at home, Kentucky at home, Auburn on the road, Ole Miss at home.
I mean, that like Alabama, Ole Miss to bookend that's tough. I mean, those are not going to be easy games. We don't know about Auburn yet, though. That's the thing. And I would think by October 11th, you'll know who Auburn is.
I think you'll know who they are at the end of August. I mean, teams can get better, but I think we're going to get an idea of some teams by the end of the first games in August.
So at this point, you are sitting there with, Bama on the schedule and Tennessee and that. But, I mean, you've played 2 road games and you're halfway through the year. And you're not playing but one real road game in the second half of the schedule. So coming off of that second bye week, you will kick things off on November the 1st, this stretch run, and it'll be neutral site with the Florida Gators, world's largest cocktail party. So Dogs and Gators, and man, what a ferocious rivalry that is. And I know Florida expects to be better, so there could be a bit of a test there for Georgia. Then road trip to Starkville to take on Mississippi State, who right now appears to be the worst team in the league on paper. Then back home, November 15th, they welcome in Texas. So Texas has already gone to play Georgia. Is it Georgia hasn't played at College Station? Is that the one that still hasn't happened yet? Yeah. 15 years into this agreement, and they still have never traveled to College Station. That's crazy. Yep. But Texas...
No flights from that small airport they have in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's tough. You ever been to that little tiny airport in Atlanta?
The problem is not flying out of Atlanta. It's driving in to get to Atlanta.
Yeah.
You can't fly to
But what's crazy is
Houston.
That 15-ish years now in, and A&M is still not hosted Georgia. In the first 2 years of Texas's existence in the SEC, they already have a home and away with Georgia. And it's just knocked out. Now, there's somebody they're obviously not playing for a while, like their version of that. But I just find that to be utterly ridiculous that A&M has not hosted Georgia, and we're nearing the 20-year anniversary of being in the league. That's just insane.
Well, it's also just the fact they haven't played them but once, right?
Yeah, they've only played them one time.
It's crazy.
They only played them one time.
Since they joined the SEC,
So, that's just wild. But Texas will have knocked out the Georgia two-step in their first 2 years. So Texas, and if last year's any indication, that would be a hell of a football game. So that one will be a big one. And then after you get to UT, winding down the schedule here, it is Charlotte for your late non-con game on November the 22nd. So that'll mean absolutely nothing whatsoever. And then their lone Friday game, the big rivalry, another non-con. So start off the year with 2 non-cons, end the year with 2 non-cons. It's kind of weird, guys.
Like, when did they slide that late? Like Georgia Tech's rivalry is like Florida State, whatever. When did they start sliding those FCS schools to the back towards their schedule?
Charlotte's in the Sun Belt, but
you're talking about that game, okay?
Their FCS
5 or 6.
Their FCS game is actually early, but they started doing that. It's been a while. It's probably been 20 years.
Yeah, and of course
it happened before. Here's when it happened before. It happened before they started tooting their horn about how tough it was, and then everybody kind of didn't notice it for a while. And then now,
maybe they've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah, they've been doing it for.
It's interesting though. They could play 10 conference games during COVID, as Pat Smith mentioned. They didn't have a problem with that.
What FSU used to do was they used to play. I mean, their FCS game was always early, like back in the day, but they had a way to maybe manipulate the ACC so that they weren't playing, one of the better, like they weren't playing North Carolina and then Florida. They would play like Wake Forest or Duke, the 2 bottom feeders of the league before the expansion, and then Florida.
Now Wake Forest and Duke play Florida State.
Exactly. That was their thing. But
all right. Sorry about that. Got off on a tangent.
But I was just comparing like what they, the ways they did it. So go ahead.
All right. So after Charlotte there on November the 22nd, they will close out the schedule on November the 28th. Georgia Tech, the neutral site rivalry game there on Black Friday, already announced as an afternoon ABC game, and that's where it will finish up, is with Georgia Tech there, neutral site, Black Friday. So, there is the Georgia schedule. Couple of non-cons to open and end the season. The big non-con being Georgia Tech, but Marshall, Austin Peay, and Charlotte also part of that schedule. So when you hear the 8-game schedule thing, you totally get it, because you see Tennessee, you see Alabama, you see Florida, you see Texas. Not that they're all good every year, although they get the benefit of the doubt in that way. But you also then see an extra team that's just going to get beat by 70. So it's that sort of balance that is the topic of conversation. Depending on where you're talking, it goes one way or the other, but that is the Georgia schedule. They do not play this season Arkansas. They don't play LSU. They don't play Mizzou. They don't play Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas A&M, or Vanderbilt. So those are the teams they'll miss out on unless they meet in the championship.
They do get the games against Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss at home, right? I mean, that's not bad at all. Okay.
Yep, only 2 road they have 3 actual real road games
in the conference.
Tennessee in general. Tennessee, Auburn, and Mississippi State. They got 2 neutral site games with Florida and Georgia Tech. And
of course, that game with Georgia Tech last year, remember that? The spearing or the targeting call and Haynes King had the ball and he couldn't hold on to it. He talked about that with us about a couple weeks ago, and they didn't get the call. And Georgia, they found a way, man. They came back and found a way to win that game. But I would think that overall, Georgia last year has to have a sour taste in their mouth. Last year did not end the way they wanted, no matter how far they got.
But by the way, I went back to look at how many times A&M and Georgia have played overall.
4.
6.
6. Okay.
6. They're 3-3 against each other. A&M's wins came in 1950 in the Presidential Cup Bowl, in 1953, and in 1954. In 53, they played that game in Dallas. And then since then, in 1980, Georgia won.
That's Herschel Walker.
Yeah, and 42-0.
That's Herschel Walker.
Yeah, and in 2009, they played the Independence Bowl and Georgia won. And then they played again in 19. It was 1913 in Athens.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Texas has been in the league 2 years, and they get to play Georgia both times.
Yeah, but they're going to have some similar situation. It's just not Georgia. It's going to be like
South Carolina's never played Arkansas or something like that.
But so even when they did play in Texas against A&M, They played that game in Dallas.
In Dallas, yeah. All right, Craig, thank you very much. Who's next? EFGH.
Kentucky.
Kentucky is tomorrow. This is 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, top 5, and we'll have Andrew's poll results just around the corner. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on for all of your automotive needs. Looking to get into a pre-owned vehicle, looking to get into a new vehicle, looking to get into just your ride every single day the way that it is, but with some better tires or a new oil change or whatever it might be. They are your one-stop shop, and they're celebrating our great country this summer with red, white, and blue tag savings, and that means that every new, used, or new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs are priced with special American-size savings. So, for example, you can save $750 on a new 2025 Buick Envista, named a 2024 Car and Driver's Editor's Choice. If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, right now during the sales tag event, you can find hundreds of used cars priced to move. For your upcoming summer travel, all of the pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and 100% credit approval is also always their goal. They also have thousands more on various vehicles across the lot, so take advantage today of the savings event going on this summer at Richard Carr Motors. They're locally owned, they're locally run, and if you want more details, go visit their website, richardkarr.com, or give them a phone call, and they'll be happy to help, or go see them in person and deal with their great customer service, mano a mano. Either way, they'll hook you up and give you a great deal and give you something that's sometimes priceless, which is peace of mind when driving your vehicle. So do business with a dealership that gives back to the local community and deal with people you can count on at Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flagg and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com, use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. I'm just looking at myself on camera. Yes, I know. I look like that big dude from Severance with the huge bushy beard. I need a haircut. My guy's on vacation. What are you going to do? Anyhow, let's get into it. Greg Sankey gave his State of the SEC address to start SEC Media Days. Some thoughts so far on it, what he said. Number 5, he and Brett Yormark, BY, for purposes of space on the title here, I have differing opinions on the Memorandum of Understanding. Now, the MOU states that the Big Ten and SEC can't have final say in all decisions regarding the future expansion and development of the college football playoff. Now, Brett Yormark told everybody at Big 12 Media Days last week, including us, that those two conferences do have to act on the behalf of the best interest of everybody else, not just themselves. Well, Greg Sankey kind of shooed that away and said, well, we still have the final say. I don't know who's right here, but that's where the conflict comes in between conference to conference here. But it was interesting to see him say, like, well, no. And he and Brett Yormark are similar and different, so I'm not surprised that they at least publicly butt heads a little bit more, even though Brett Yormark tells us that the relationship is very professional and friendly. Number 4, the SEC is too hard for 9 games, guys. It's so hard. I mean, would any other conference would have played 9 games in that league? It's tough. It's so hard, and I can't even. I'm stressed, guys. I mean, is it the best for everything? Would anybody else want to do it? I don't know. It's so hard, guys. This argument drives me nuts, and that's what it sounds like to me. That's what it sounds like. Oh, we're the biggest, baddest group of teams. You better watch out when we come in the door. We're bad Leroy Brown. All right, how about you play one more game against each other? Oh, my God. Are you serious? Do you know what that's like? Do you even know? You know what it's like to BS in the SEC, guys? It's nuts. They've got to get over this. Go to 9 or go to 8, but everybody do the same thing. It'll be more fun for the fans if you play 9 across the board. I'm also talking to you, ACC, and we'll get to you when you have your media days. But when you're asked about it and you're like, it's just too much. It's just too much. Number 3, the NCAA tourney may expand or not. Whatever, depends on the media partners. He's fine. Could expand. We want it to expand. We don't get more money. It's not going to expand. Meh. That was his general attitude about it. But basically saying, we'd like it to expand because we want more access, even though we set a record on how many teams we put in the tournament last year. But we need more access. No one that is not a conference commissioner wants the NCAA tournament to expand. Or coaches. Basketball coaches do. Basketball coaches, conference commissioners. That's who. That's it. No one who buys tickets. Those guys don't buy tickets. You know when the last time they bought a ticket to a college basketball game was? Never. They've never bought a ticket. But the people who buy tickets don't want it to. But you know what? You're getting extra patty on the hamburger where either you can fit it in your mouth or not. Number 2, the playoff will expand eventually. Now, they have argued about the models. Now, he said he felt the 12-team playoff was a success, despite some things he said that minor things that need to be changed. The minor thing that he thinks needs to be changed is that nobody loved the SEC enough, I guess. But the playoff will expand. He was pretty clear on that. I mean, he's fine to keep it at 12 until they figure out the way to do it. But eventually, expansion is the way that everybody wants to go. And number 1, college athletics is strained. Very, very strained. It's not broken. He said it's not broken, but they've only been in this new model for 2 weeks, and they have to figure things out. Now, this is where I do agree with him. It's not broken. It's a mess. It's very strained, like he said, but it's only been 2 weeks. And the only problem is the NCAA is the one who comes up with these rules, and then they implement them, and then they see what they forgot, and then they go back, as opposed to like really comprehensively doing something. But we'll see. We'll see when the 50th NIL goal lawsuit hits, how they change those things. But he said they're only 2 weeks in and not to panic yet. That's going to do it for the top 5. Andrew Valade made polls. He made graphics. He took time out of his day for you. And Smokey's going to give those results.
And right here now. They are. Thank you, Paul, very much. The top 5. NFL's top 4 quarterbacks based on the rankings or the survey we had earlier today. Who should be 1? I don't even
I would like to hear the arguments from everyone else as to why Patrick Mahomes is not number one.
There's a lot of, they hope that Josh Allen one day wins a title, and Joe Burrow had that great start and he's unbelievably gifted, and Lamar's been knocking on the door, but that doesn't mean this is simple to me.
I hope all three of these guys win a title.
Yeah.
Other than Patrick's already done it. He's going to do it more times, I'm sure. But I'm just more curious as to if you think that the number one quarterback in the league is not Patrick Mahomes, what is your reasoning for that?
Yeah. Well,
because this is not a situation like the Ravens, with Trent Dilfer. This is the exact opposite.
There's some 4 damn good guys there, but I would have been surprised if that wouldn't have been – I was surprised it wouldn't be 80% at least at the minimum, but you're right. Also, which college football rivalry deserves the number one spot? And I had an idea that Michigan-Ohio State would be very much involved in this, but to me, personally, Army-Navy, no question, Michigan-Ohio State is a dude. Iron Bowl out of anger, hatred, and then Texas OU is among the great traditional rivalries too. But I went with Army-Navy.
Well, you might have been the deciding vote based on this. I don't know how much they were ahead by for that extra 1% to win this poll, but I don't think you could go wrong here. I think Army-Navy is a valid winner. The game would have been a valid winner if you're in certain parts of a particular state. Then the Iron Bowl being your choice would have made a ton of sense. And then being in this state and the one right above us and just knowing the history, Red River's an incredible rivalry that I think maybe it's going to gain. I don't know that I don't want to make it sound like it's not respected or not respected enough, because everybody always thinks they're underrated in some degree. But I don't think it gets mentioned often enough, like respectfully in line all the way with like Michigan, Ohio State, or that kind of a game, and I think it's right there. So
you know what the difference is? All three of those games are at the end of the season.
Yeah,
and the Red River is in the middle.
It's in October.
Yeah,
so because those games are at the end of the season, and there's 11 games of build up to them, as opposed to 5.
Right.
Sometimes. Depending on what it is, but yeah. So I think that's why, and I don't think that's a good enough reason to say it falls behind. It's in the middle, which to me makes it maybe even tougher, because you have to play your biggest rival in the middle of the year and then bounce back from it, whatever happens.
Yeah, no, and it was a non-conference game forever, and you see some rivalries: Georgia Tech, Florida State, places like that. They play games at the very end of the year, but they always had it in October, always is. It's around the fair, the state fair.
Those are all 4 salty-ass games right there. I mean,
absolutely.
Those are 4 incredible games and big parts of why college football is the sport that it is.
I can't believe that Cal-Duke game is not in there, that ACC rivalry. All right,
ACC
very nice, Andrew.
Next year.
Great stuff. Garrett Ross running and weaving as our executive director and producer and whatever else he does with his what cap today?
Got the Braves today.
Atlanta Braves. Brandon Rowe with his actual first day of running the 365 Sports tonight. Good luck with that, Brandon, on the CW tonight at 10:30. For Craig and Paul, I'm David Smoak. Thank you to our great sponsors. Those of you who watch us, we do appreciate it. Good night on 365 Sports.